Gaming news today is all about, well, bad news. First, Marathon creators are speaking out about the growing cheating problem. Apparently, it has become a huge controversy in one particular part of the game, but that is not the only part of Marathon that is seeing a strange trend. Something very odd is happening with Rooks, and it sounds eerily similar to something that we saw happen with Arc Raiders. Oh, and over the weekend, there was a weapon that was so strong that Bungie nerfed it by 35%, and it's still really strong. Imagine that, a balancing problem for Bungie in a PvP environment. Second, on the trend of bad news, we have an update about Star Wars Eclipse, and it isn't just disappointing with respect to timing, it is worrying with respect to probability and even it releasing. Third, we do have information and an update on the Halo controversy that has continued to unfold, with the former employee alleging very serious charges. We are going to take a look at the details, as well as the fact that Microsoft has responded. Now, if you're watching this later, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It'll ensure that you're here for the shows. Double check that your bell button hasn't been switched off of all. You might not be getting notified. Sometimes YouTube changes that. And you can help us with the goal. We're trying to get to 600 paying members. For $5 a month, you can get into my members-only Discord and you get a badge and emotes. And it helps me do this full time. We are a fan-funded channel. So anybody who hits that join button, thank you so much for doing that. All right, so let's get into the first story. Well, the Marathon community can't seem to catch a break, as over the weekend some very strange things transpired. The first and most prominent thing is that cheating is becoming a severe problem for anybody running ranked, especially if you're in the upper levels of ranked. Grenader Jake took to Twitter to talk about it, basically questioning why we are so quick to nerf things, but they can't seem to do things about the cheaters after weeks of the problem getting worse. Now, Astacross weighed in as well and said that he's basically dodging the cheaters by not going up to the higher levels of ranked, and he knows that's where most of them are, which really begs the question, how does a game with such a small population struggle with this, especially if the cheating is so concentrated to one particular area of the game? Now, obviously, some are commenting and stating that Bungie's never really been good at doing this, but months ago, Bungie issued a warning about this, saying they would have a very strict anti-cheat policy. There was also the thought that the dedicated servers in Marathon would help significantly versus the peer-to-peer setup in Destiny. Bungie spoke in February about this, and they said that they would use a new server authority model that would automatically reject invalid client actions. The idea that obvious cheats like teleporting, infinite ammo, or adjusted damage values could quickly be detected, blocked, and then subsequently banned. But it appears that is not happening. And if Bungie's making zero effort to calm those concerns, it's understandable that people are getting irritated, that basically there is nothing at the moment for them to say because this has been going on for 2 weeks. But as Jake pointed out, they are quick with the nerfs. Over the weekend, the Biotoxic Disinjector was nerfed a staggering 35%. Game director Joe Ziegler said that they may make more adjustments to it in the future and not even stick with this current damage nerf, but they needed to curb the domination down a little bit. Well, a little bit. Remember when I said that Bungie would have this hard time with this game because they have a terrible track record with balance in PvP? How does something even get through testing that requires a 35% damage nerf, and even after the nerf, players are reporting that it is still very strong? Basically, prior to the nerf, folks were spamming these nades in a grenade mode, and it was killing entire teams in seconds. So again, I ask, how does something like this even make it into the game? Some are even reporting that the nerf basically did nothing and it is still highly lethal. At some level, this feels connected to the lack of cheating response. Bungie just feels out of their depth. The launch of a PvP VE extraction shooter where the most sought after loot is disrupting the very balance of the game at the highest levels of commitment and gameplay, and so is cheating. In other words, Cryo Archive introduced a gun so broken it had to be nerfed by 35%, and it's still the most sought after gun. And the ranked mode is riddled with cheaters. These are your true aspirational environments, the ranked mode and the Cryo Archive. But that's not the only strange thing emerging within the game. Solo players are now forming Rook gangs and having their way with the servers when they show up. The idea is that a Rook is a very low-risk run where you are primarily in the server to get loot and extract because you came in with basically nothing. Rather than bringing in your valuable loot, you go in just to take loot out. So, if you're a Rook and I'm a Rook, fighting each other doesn't really serve much of a purpose. Now, I saw similar behavior metas emerge when I strictly stuck to being friendly in Arc Raiders. It was honestly exciting finding other like-minded players that would work together and just get along. So it's not surprising that some players are resorting to this sort of friendly tactic, but some players don't see it that way. Since Rooks take almost no risk, some see this gameplay style as very disruptive. As the player population continues to shrink, teaming up with other players who are also taking no risk and then bum rushing teams that are taking risk, well, some players aren't going to enjoy that. But apparently this emerging behavior is something that Bungie is aware of. The principal producer said that seeing bands of roving rooks come together and raiding the pinwheel is something that they thought was worth celebrating. And while players may debate the merits of this type of strategy and gameplay, the real question becomes, what will Bungie do to turn things around? The cheating is one thing, the nerfs are one thing, and gangs of rooks are one thing, but the trajectory for the game and the player numbers continues to head towards territory that makes all the debates and feedback fall to the wayside. None of this really matters if player numbers drop below the minimum required for the game to function well. The pattern has been that week after week, new lows and continued decline on Steam happens. All the insults and the memes in the world won't change this reality, especially if your most committed players are running into cheaters in ranked, or broken weapons from the cryo archive, or bands of teaming rooks. Many have expressed concern about what might happen when the first seasonal wipe happens. What sort of player exodus might occur? Well, with the current trajectory, there won't be much of a player base to exit the game. Off-peak hours are in danger of dipping below 10,000 players on Steam. The new record low over the weekend was just 10,474 players. If what Bungie sources told Paul Tassi is true, and this represents 70% of the player base, I cannot imagine trying to matchmake on a console during non-peak hours if you've turned crossplay off. And no, pointing this out is not hate or toxic. Constantly berating and hurling insults at anyone who covers this game with respect to the player numbers, that's actually what is toxic. Analysis of any live service game, past or present, has to consider the player trends and the player numbers. It helps the public make choices with respect to time investment or purchases. We were told the same thing when we were monitoring the player numbers of Highguard, and it was important for people to know where that game was headed, and it's important for people to know where Marathon is headed. Hopefully calling people maidenless, unemployed, and toxic puts enough money in the bank for Bungie to support the game long term, since the most ardent supporters don't seem to have much of a response other than that. From where I sit, play the game while you can, because it doesn't necessarily going to need to be shut down, because where things are headed, it won't need to be. But those are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So we have another story here that isn't great either, and this has to do with Star Wars Eclipse. Insider Gaming reported on their recent podcast that development on Star Wars Eclipse has been, quote, very slow going. One source told them that the team has been making very little progress over months. They did say that a good portion of the game has been completed, but also another source said back in December that, quote, the game at this stage is still looking to be years off from completion. And apparently NetEase does not want to invest in the studio at the moment to help grow staff and maybe speed up that timeline. In fact, both NetEase and Quantic Dream are relying on an early access game, Spellcasters Chronicles, for that game in early access, and the revenue coming from it, that's what they're basically relying on. The source claimed that, quote, at this stage, the long-term outlook is less driven by creative capabilities and more by financial viability. Should Spellcasters fail commercially, NetEase is expected to reevaluate its commitment to the studio and could opt to discontinue further investment. Now, this obviously means that Star Wars Eclipse could never see the light of day, which would be a shame. An action-adventure Star Wars game in the High Republic era has a lot of promise, and just this trailer alone was exciting. So I guess we're all cheering for a free-to-play, team-based, third-person action strategy game called Spellcasters Chronicles to do well, and it currently has a 60% on Steam with only 680 reviews. So, well, it was, I guess, nice knowing you, Star Wars Eclipse. If that's what you're hanging our hopes on, that's probably where it's going to land. But those are just my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. And we've got one more story for you, and this one kind of developed over the weekend, and we have an official response from Microsoft. A strange development with Halo and Halo Studios continues to evolve as former employees are claiming numerous things that are troubling, like unlawful acts taking place when they were at the company. Glenn Israel took to LinkedIn to claim that he witnessed several unethical and unlawful acts by senior staff at the studio, like blacklisting, fraud, rampant favoritism, cronyism, and harassment campaigns designed to provoke and discharge unwanted employees. Can you imagine a company doing this? Blacklisting, fraud, rampant favoritism, and harassment campaigns? It's like something out of a movie, or maybe just 2020. What makes this worse is that claims he filed to Microsoft's HR got a negative response. A global employee relations representative threatened him with retaliation. This led to a 4-day-long harassment campaign to manufacture cause for his termination in July of 2025. In a second post he made, he said he suspects that Microsoft has a routine of using layoffs to get rid of employees who file complaints. He also said that he suspects that organizations and investigations within Microsoft HR department are deliberately compartmentalized to create plausible deniability. Other former Halo staff supported him and his claims, stating that they witnessed harassment as well, or that they just flat out experienced it. Microsoft commented on the matter, and here's what they said, quote, "Out of respect, we don't publicly discuss individual employee issues, but we do take all claims seriously for both current and former employees." Well, my take on this is simple. I bet most of this is true. Glenn Israel literally encouraged people to not come work under Microsoft, which is something that we have sensed for a while. Roughly half of the 343 employees during Halo Infinite's development were on a contract, according to Bloomberg. And since Microsoft doesn't want to pay for people's health benefits, anybody on a contract has to leave every 18 months, and they're not allowed to come back for 6 months. This is incredibly disruptive, and it harmed the production of Halo Infinite significantly. So Microsoft has no problem treating employees poorly, even if it means hurting the very products that they are trying to build and sell. I've said for a while that I'm worried about any studio under Microsoft ownership, and this story just cements that feeling. If Halo as a piece of property matters so little to Microsoft that they let 343 run the way that it was run, and then Microsoft treats a 17-year Halo veteran this way, well, as Glenn Israel basically said it, nobody is safe. So I wouldn't take a job there, and I'd be updating my resume and seeking employment elsewhere as well. But those are just my thoughts, and now it's time to hear your thoughts on the matter. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so much. Make sure you guys are going through the ritual of hitting the like button. It does help me out significantly, and we need that first 100 likes. Quick show open there for you guys, about 10 minutes. And the Superfly hits 12 months in a row over there on purple to start the day off right. And thank you so much for doing that. And Wired Rope's going to help out a bit over there also, and we're going to get the goal started. And he gifts 5. So Han shot first, and so did you. A 5-bomb comes in after a single over there, a renewal on purple. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I'm tired of first-person shooters. Good morning, Sainster. How are you? Waiting to hear about the marathon cheat seen on YouTube, but never came across it playing. I thought I was going to sneeze. No, the issue with the cheating is it's only happening in the upper echelons of ranked. So if you're not up there, you're not experiencing it. Basically, Astacross said he's been dodging the cheating, not like intentionally, but he has a feeling why he's encountering it a whole lot less. It's essentially only happening at the upper echelons of ranked. Because if you're cheating, you're going to climb ranked incredibly fast. So that's where they're all hanging out. So if you're trying to play Marathon right now and you're just playing like the normal maps, the normal modes or what have you, you're not going into ranked, you're not going to run into these guys. You're not. You're going to see Mario and Project Hail Mary today. Oh, enjoy him. I really enjoyed Mario with my kiddos, with the fam. Guns getting buffed and nerfed on a whim, yet people will pay to get the thing now just to use it. The interesting thing about the nerf is, as I said in the show open, I don't know how something like that even gets through testing. Like, it doesn't make an ounce of sense. It's like, you have a gun at the aspirational level, okay? So not only do you have a gun at the aspirational level, DK Bager with the first gifted on YouTube, thank you so much. So it's at the aspirational level, which means you know this thing is going to be sought after. You know it needs to be good. You know it needs to be strong. And it's so strong that they needed to nerf it by 35%. And it's still incredibly strong. People are still saying, yeah, it's wiping out entire teams. I saw one streamer say that they had run into cheaters for 40 matches in a row. Well, here's what's going to happen, and this is why cheating is a huge concern. And as you guys are coming in to the stream today on YouTube, make sure and go through that ritual of hitting that like button. That helps me out, and it helps more people find the stream. The issue is very simple, okay? The issue is very simple. When your population gets low and you have less people playing the game, you're going to more consistently run into cheating if you're in the correct pocket. So if you're playing, if you're playing, at a ranked level, you're already dealing with a smaller group of people. So you have a small population to begin with, and then the smallest slice of that population is going to be hanging out in ranked. So your odds, like the mathematical probability of you running into somebody cheating it's just through the roof. It's not surprising at all that somebody's going to have, cheaters in their game that many games in a row. The issue that you're going to run into there is these are your people that have all the best stuff. They're content rich. I mean, they have so much loot. They have so much money. And if they're going into this environment and they're facing cheaters and they're losing their stuff, man, that's a quick way to see the player numbers get even worse. Because these are your people. These are your hardcores. These are the guys that have put in the time. If you're able to go up into the upper levels of ranked, I mean, my goodness. Now, last night, they hit the newest low that they've ever hit. They fell below 10,000 on Steam. This is before maintenance, so that might play a part. People just know maintenance is coming, so they'll stop playing. But last night, they were at 8,000. Then they spent 3 hours at 8,000 players on Steam, and then obviously maintenance is going on right now, so there's way less people in the game. What the heck just happened? We dropped frames. Why does that keep happening? So yeah, the danger would be now is that your most hardcore, your most dedicated, the people that have put in the most time and have the best loot, they're the ones that have the highest probability of running into cheaters. They're the ones that have the highest likelihood of running into these people and then losing their stuff. So that's the potential then of increasing exodus, or at the very least, people are just gonna be like, I'm not gonna play right now until they get a wrangle on the cheaters. Why would I play? I'm risking all my loot. 32 months from Joker Quinn. Whoa, I'm collecting months like trophies. Thank you so much, Mr. Joker Quinn. Let me add it to the total. 64 on the week. What are they doing that's cheating? I've only heard blanket cheating. I mean, people in chat could weigh in and say, I'm assuming aimbotting, wall hacking, things like that. Joker Quinn with a single gifted bumps the line to 64. We're behind pace. Last week, you guys went crazy and unlocked the Saturday stream second half of the week. We could be heading towards a similar week. Next milestone, I'll owe you guys a member. We're 10 away. They speak so much about how they would approach cheaters, and it's still happening. Well, they made assurances there would be like a server-side authority. This should be less possible this time, according to Bungie. Like, if you're basically doing something that shouldn't be happening, if you have infinite ammo, if you're teleporting, if you've adjusted damage values, things like this, then the client-side authority is supposed to be catching that, putting a stop to it, and then subsequently banning the people doing it. Any cheating is an issue. The type really isn't important. Yeah, I mean, I would assume that it's probably aimbots. That would be my assumption. Or you're getting shot the minute you poke around a wall because they're wall hacking or something. If they're walling, I mean, that's one of the dilemmas of the game that has just such an absurd level of time to kill. Like, you're not going to have a whole lot of time to react if somebody's walling. 42 months from Lone Wolf. Thank you so much, putting us at 66 on the week, and it's a VIP plus. 42 months, as I always say, I love this community. Thank you for all the content, Lona. You're the GOAT. Thank you so much, Lone Wolf. The cheat detection is still in alpha. Typical cheating tactics. Also, I had to turn crossplay on yesterday, rip matchmaking time. So that was something that I said, I think like last week, and I've continued to say it, that as the player numbers continue to trend down, if you're playing during those off-peak hours, you're going to have a really hard time finding a match if you turn off crossplay. Like, the game is quickly approaching levels where it just simply won't work as a game. Like, all the hand-wringing and all the anger about looking at Steam charts, those people can kick rocks. This is good analysis for the public to know what's going on. So here you have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is not because of maintenance. You had 4 hours below 10,000 players on Steam. This is the lowest the game has been since launch. This is a new, every week there's a new record low for Marathon. The Marathon player count has now hit a new record low, 4 hours in a row at 8,000 something players. Now, if you're on console and you've turned off crossplay, your matchmaking times, you're dealing with, I don't know, 3,000 to 4,000 people maybe, because if 70% of the people who bought the game bought it on Steam, you're dealing with a much smaller population on console. And if you've turned off crossplay, you're just going to sit there. There's not going to be enough people playing. This is when Exodus starts to speed up. There's an almost momentum that starts to happen, because when you go to play, you're having a bad time, so you stop playing. Well, then when your buddy wants to play on Friday night, you're like, yeah, I don't really feel like playing. I haven't been playing this week because the matchmaking's so bad. Well, guess what's going to happen? Now your buddy's motivated to not play. It's like, if you've ever seen somebody like light a big, thick spider web on fire and it spreads really quickly, that's what's about to happen. You're about to have that like web of player impact happen. People are just going to stop. They're going to be like, I can't play during off-peak hours. I can't play unless I turn cross-play back on. Even then, you might get into a laggy match. And then if your buddies aren't playing, it's going to expedite Exodus. Devices like the Cronus have and will continue to plague these people. Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like the cheating is far more egregious than just a Cronus, Wolvie, because it's like if people are running into 14 matches in a row, and these guys are like highly competitive, I would imagine it's even worse than just a Cronus. I don't think that many people turn crossplay off. I don't even think that many people crossplay off is a no-go. I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean. I guess I separate those two things. If you're exploiting stuff in the game, it's not sportsmanlike, but if you're installing software to gain an advantage, that's flat-out cheating. I mean, it depends on the exploit. I think there are degrees of exploit. Like slide canceling, okay, it's there, it's an advantage, people are going to use it. Glitching out of the map, no, that's cheating. I would consider there's degrees of exploit. If you figured out there's some place you can mantle to take a shortcut, right? Remember when people were figuring out how to do that in Halo Infinite? They were figuring out there were different places they could mantle to take shortcuts across the map. I think that's completely legitimate. You're just finding out where there are shortcuts, where there are like tricks that you can take. Slide canceling, same thing. It's like it's a movement exploit that gives you, a speed advantage. Glitching out of the map. So now you're outside of the boundaries of the map and you're not killable. That to me is tantamount to cheating. I would say both are cheating. I have a hard time saying that like slide canceling is cheating. I don't know. It just feels very different to me. Exploit was aimbot through the wall. YouTube player got caught. I mean, that's not an exploit. That's a cheat. I was in solos yesterday when I turned crossplay back on. I don't have 3 minutes to stare at a matchmaking screen. Slide canceling is just tech, says JStock. Yeah, I don't have much of an issue with people doing slide canceling. To me, again, movement advantages, shortcuts through the map, these types of things, yes, they're exploits, but I don't think they cross over into the lane of cheating. Is the cheating confirmed, or is the high-level rank matches are just super sweaty? No, the cheating has been confirmed. You've got guys like Frostbolt, Grenader Jake, Astacross, other prominent players are saying they're running into cheaters. I don't think these guys are just doing that thing where like, oh, it's sweaty and a better player killed me, they're cheating. I think it's blatantly obvious that cheating is going on. I don't think typically when cheating starts to happen in a game, I've said there's a couple things that happen. There's an epidemic that starts to spread. The first epidemic is people start feeling like they have to cheat to compete, so they might do it. They might do it as like an act of like desperation. Well, there's nothing else I can do. I have to cheat, right? But there's another epidemic, and it's the epidemic of sus. And the epidemic of sus is almost worse, because then every good kill is suspicious. You're like, well, that was sus. I don't know if that was legit, right? I think this is going far beyond just a couple of sus kills in a match. I think the cheats are blatant. It's obvious that it's happening. People are saying they're running into repeat cheaters. They recognize the names. They've run into the people before, what have you. This happened in Destiny all of the time, So I don't know. I would put money on the table and bet in favor of, guys like Jake and others. They're not pulling their guns from their holsters haphazardly here. I think when they make an accusation of cheating, it's probably pretty blatantly obvious. You don't do what they've been doing as long as they've been doing it and just instinctively accuse a good player of cheating. They play with good players. They know what good players' movements and abilities look like. I mean, it's usually pretty obvious when somebody's outside of that bell curve. Wolvie says, where do you think all the cheaters who didn't leave trials go to? Yeah, right. How is cheating fun? I've never understood that. I mean, in general, there is, I think, an entire epidemic of people that feel like it's their only option. It's their only means of playing. It's their only means of having success. I think that's generally where it comes from. I think people feel like, well, I'm never going to be good enough. At least I can do this. I think a lot of it is, it's just a very backwards way of viewing gaming. Like, they think that this is their only option. So a lot of these guys are paying for subscription services to cheat. Like, it's kind of, there's a level of insanity to it. It's like, what? You're paying a subscription to cheat in a video game? Bungie doesn't exactly have a good track record of dealing with cheaters, says the Italian. So I'm not surprised that repeat cheaters are happening. Right. And, Grenadier Jake kind of responded to that on Twitter. Like, people were telling him, like, what did you expect? He's like, I expected it to be better. They said they were going to do a better job. They said they were going to have, like, I don't know if he's saying this. I'm saying this. They said they were going to have, like, server-side authority. Like, the dedicated servers were supposed to help with this. Like, how are you? And this is where I come from it. I come from a completely different angle. It's not just that you have dedicated servers and this alleged server-side authority. You have an incredibly small population. How in the world is it not super easy to catch these people? Like, how? They're seemingly all clustered in the same part of the game. They're all clustered in the same section. How could you not catch them? It can't be that hard to monitor a player population of this size. Why would it be better? Again, dedicated servers allows you to do more quick monitoring and quick responses because there's a different relationship between client and the server. It's not the same as when you're doing peer-to-peer. One of the dilemmas with peer-to-peer in Destiny is, like, you could literally get the IP of your opponents and DDoS them and knock them offline. You can't do that when you're on dedicated servers. Dedicated servers afford advantages to both the player as well as the developer. They also said they had a PvP team in Destiny, and then years later they admit that they didn't. Unfortunately, Bungie lies. Wait, what do you mean? When did we learn they don't have a PvP team? What? I don't know if that's true. I feel like you're saying something that's not accurate. When did we realize or learn they didn't have a PvP team? I don't think that that's true at all. If there's no PvP team, then who's building the matches? Who's building the Crucible stuff? Who's making all of the stuff for Iron Banner and Shaxx and all of that? Who's doing all the stuff for Trials? I feel like what you're saying is literally impossible. Where did all that content come from if there's no PvP team? Marathon 8K low this morning before servers went down. I saw that, Austin, for 4 hours. It wasn't just because of maintenance. For 4 hours, they were in the 8,000 player range on Steam, which is very, very low. That's very, very concerning. They're nearing levels where the game, and I've said this for weeks, that they were headed for levels that the game just won't function properly, and they're getting very close to that now. If you try to play in off-peak hours, you're going to have a very bad time, which just means more people will quit. Like, the more people try to come in, and the more they have, like, bad experiences around not getting in fights and losing loot, like, the more bad experiences they have, like, not being able to play, like sitting in a matchmaking screen, they'll just go play something else. We didn't get new PvP content for years. The Italian says, I could be mistaken, but I thought that was the assumption around the time of their PvP strike team post Witch Queen. Okay, you're getting into territory that I didn't cover, so I can't speak to it. All I know is it seems unlikely that they did not have a PvP team. You're like, years later, they admit they didn't have a PvP team. There may have been a point in time where they shifted bandwidth and the PvP team shifted to Marathon, so that's why stuff wasn't happening in Destiny. But homie, for like over a decade. The Crucible was getting updates and maps and guns, and then Trials came back. There was clearly a PvP team that built all that stuff. Like, it seemed like you were sort of trying to put out the notion, like, yeah, they've never had a PvP team, and it's like, they had to have had one. It's not the first time they dropped that low. Yes, it is. Yes, this is the first time they've dropped to 8,000 players gone, kid. This is a record low for the game. It has never been this low. I've been monitoring the numbers. You can't count when there's maintenance, brother. For 4 hours, they were at 8,000 players on Steam. They have never been that low since launch, ever. The lowest they've been since launch is around 10,000 players on Steam. So, who said slide canceling is an exploit? It is an exploit. What do you mean? Like, it's an exploit. When you're doing something that's unintended as a loophole within the control schemes of the game, that's an exploit. Like, that's literally that's like the definition of an exploit in a video game. It's not cheating, but it's definitely an exploit. You know what I mean? Chuck Norris plays Crimson Desert. Now pay me $800 for being wrong. Man, the price of being wrong keeps going up. Thug Nasty. Only 28,000 peak last night. Yes, this would be another worrying site. Yes, that I think this is their lowest peak yet. I believe 28,000. So, you know, you're starting to quickly approach that, getting below the 20,000 line. Like, you 1, 2, 3, 4 straight hours in the 8,000. So you can't blame maintenance for this. This wasn't like a sudden drop to 8,000. It was at 8,000 for 4 hours. That's the lowest the game's been since launch. I think he was referring to the PvP team monitoring the cheating. Oh, maybe. I agree. I originally said it's cheating, but Lona made some decent points as to why it really wouldn't be. It's an exploit I'm okay with. Anyone can slide cancel. Exploit absolutely, just like drop shotting and jump shotting? No, not the same category. Drop shotting is something that they don't patch. Drop shotting is something that's intended to happen. They put it in the game, you can do it. Slide canceling is something that's not intended to happen. You're working against a limitation that they set. You're finding a way around that limitation. Drop shotting and jump shotting doesn't do that. Drop shotting and jump shotting is just an execution of controls. Now, if you're using like a macro to do it, you could argue that that's an exploit because you're doing something that's somewhat inhuman. Like, if you have to use a macro to perfectly execute it every time, I would argue that that's a form of exploit. Maybe you might even say that's a form of cheating. So the reason I'm questioning this is there's an exploit Ziegler mentioned due to an interaction with another weapon mod. This looked just like cheating. It is, but it wasn't due to like third party. Well, sorry for the different subject. What's happening with Halo? No, there's no reason to apologize. We do multi-topic. You're allowed to come in and ask about any of the topics that we're covering. Really, you can come in and ask about anything going on in gaming. We're not that rigid with the topic anymore. We used to be a lot more rigid with that, and we don't do that anymore because it's not necessary. We used to do a single topic, and it would be disruptive to do that. So the Halo situation is a 17-year Halo veteran, Glenn Israel, took to LinkedIn arguing and claiming and alleging there were like unethical and illegal things that happened, a lot of targeting, a lot of harassment. He complained to Microsoft and he was threatened with retaliation. So Microsoft, said they're going to look into it. He basically encouraged nobody to work underneath Microsoft. Basically, like, it's a terrible organization to work under. And I've said for a long time, I think that was going to be a continued trend. People would realize you don't want to work for Microsoft. They're not a good company to work for. In gaming especially. What about March 31st? 7,060, does that count? What are you talking about? You talking about March 31st? Hang on. March 31st? No, homie, that's maintenance. No, you can't count numbers directly after maintenance or during maintenance. No, sir. No. Let's be real here, homie. Here's your March 31st number, okay? They drop all the way to 1,000 or whatever, and then they have one little snippet here of 7,000. Homie, this doesn't count. They're coming out of maintenance. Prior to maintenance, they had 10,000. Look, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Just like this week, prior to maintenance, they had 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000. They had 4 hours of 8,000. So yeah, I appreciate you pointing out that there is a data point that shows it was lower than 8,000 at some point. I would not count this. This is coming out of maintenance. And I'm not saying you're doing anything underhanded or anything, Gone Kid, but like that's just not how we would look at the data. We would probably argue that coming out of maintenance and you go from 7,000 immediately to 15,000, we would say that that was just a transitory moment where like people were logging back in and getting back into the game. Does that make sense? So yeah, the lowest the game has been when it is available and playable and when there's no maintenance going on was last night, 4 hours at 8,000. You're good to point it out, but it's also good for us to point out and say, yeah, we really wouldn't count that. So the concern would be, if you are going to look at the numbers, when your peaks, so here's your peak from like Saturday, right? Saturday, it goes down on Sunday, it goes down on Monday, it goes down on Tuesday, right? And so does your lows. Your valleys are getting lower as well, which is why when you zoom out, this is what it looks like. This is a plane slowly crashing, boys. Like, look at the nose of the plane at the front there. Like, it's headed to dropping below 25,000 on average. So, again, this is not hate or doomsday or toxic. This is basic assessment of the health of a live service game. You are dropping to levels where the game won't work. You can call me maidenless. You can call me unemployed, right? Whatever name or insult you want to come up with. You can say that I'm only doing this because I have a bias against Bungie. That's just a bunch of cope. That doesn't even deal with the situation. I think the public has every right to know the status of the game, how's it doing, where's it headed. I think that is a completely legitimate thing to talk about and to point out. Because if right now you're considering buying the game because maybe your buddy plays, or you're considering spending some money in the micro store, you should know this game is headed to levels where you're going to have a hard time playing it. I think that's a completely fair thing to point out. I think that's something that the public has every right to know. We're not obsessing over this. I haven't done a dedicated marathon stream for 2 weeks. I almost did a dedicated stream today, but I didn't want to freaking hear it from people. I didn't want to hear it from anybody, especially people in our own community that are all upset every time we cover it. It's like, we've covered live service games for a decade. I'm not going to stop, especially one that's rooted in a much larger discussion. Marathon is not some one-off offshoot game we're just deciding to bully. This is Bungie. These are the guys that did the thing everybody else has tried to do. These are the guys that PlayStation purchased to establish the Center for Live Service Excellence. Like, there's so much more attached to this than just, oh, well, you don't like Bungie, or, oh, you're just hating. There is such a larger discussion attached to this. Bungie is not some little teeny offshoot company that tried to do something and they failed and we're all rubbing it in their face, right? This isn't High Guard. How much have we talked about High Guard since? How much did I talk about High Guard during? Barely. We did, I think, 1 or 2 uploads about it, and we did 1 or 2 shows about it because it was less interesting. It was like, it's a non-starter, it's not going to work, you don't have enough players, and it's dead already. And we all said that was going to happen, and we were called haters. We were told that, large player base wasn't needed, and all the other nonsense that was stated. And it's like, but we spent way less time talking about High Guard because High Guard was not attached to a larger discussion. There's been a larger discussion going on about live service games in general. There's been a discussion about, are they viable? How can they survive? What sort of trends are we seeing? When we see single player studios do it, we get very frustrated, like what happened with Kill the Justice League, like what we heard about with, Blue Point and Bend and how they were wasting their time on live service, watching Guerrilla make a live service game, the Horizon Hunters Gathering. There's a much larger discussion going on, and I just think people get stuck in that vacuum of, well, you are doing this to be mean, or you are doing this because you don't like Bungie or Marathon. It's like, no. There is a far bigger discussion that's been going on about live service games for actually a couple of years now. Now, some people go too far, and then they end up contradicting themselves. Like, live service games are ruining the industry, and then their very next video is singing the praises of Arc Raiders. And it's like, Arc Raiders is a live service game, right? Live service is killing the industry, and then they have a video getting all excited about Marvel Rivals. Do you think we get any good news from Halo? I have no idea. I don't really know. At this moment in time, I'm not confident in a single studio underneath Microsoft's ownership. We've got a video coming later today about Microsoft once again being discovered basically creating fake trailers for a showcase. We learned, and I tried to break this story, but we had the holiday weekend. I recorded something on Friday. I was ahead of the curve on this one. I went and watched an interview, and I got the deets, and I said, listen, this State of Decay 3 situation's ridiculous. They had a trailer that they made, and the game didn't even exist yet, and another company made the trailer, and now a significant detail of that trailer is not going to be in State of Decay 3. I got a video coming later today about that very thing. You know, I'm bummed that it landed on a holiday weekend where we had I was out of pocket, Creature was out of pocket, so the video sat, and it's coming today. Because I went and did the due diligence. I was like, what the frick is going on with State of Decay 3? Why are these guys talking about how they're just getting started on the game? It doesn't make an ounce of sense. You announced it 6 years ago. Paul Tassi now reporting that Marathon is plagued with a cheater infestation. It's going to get worse, boys. It's going to get worse. The situation with Marathon, and I said this last week. I said, listen, when your player base numbers get this low, when this is your trajectory for your game, you are now in degenerate land. All right? The second half of this bar, we're in degenerate land. Degenerate behavior, cannibalistic behavior, toxic behavior will increase. It will increase. A $2 super chat with J Hart. This is why I stopped valuing roadmaps. I think we need to be more on guard than ever this summer for that. Because I think that there's no excuse for how Microsoft has handled their marketing. Lono called that a fake trailer a while ago too. Which trailer are you referring to, Chill Will? They have to use fake trailers to keep people in the hope that it's out soon, so they'll re-up their Game Pass. It's all smoke, mirrors, and dangling carrots on a string to keep you on Game Pass. It's very frustrating. To be so consistently right about how they use trailers to give you such a false impression, and for people to hand wave, and they're like, oh, everybody does it. No, they don't. There's plenty of studios and publishers that don't do that. I've bought and purchased many a game recently where I knew exactly what it was going to look like, and I was confident the gameplay would match the trailers, and it did. I didn't have this experience when I played Yote or Death Stranding 2. They looked and ran exactly like the trailers. Why? Because those are studios that don't pull this kind of crap. They just show you the dadgum game. They're like, yeah, here's the game. State of Decay, you said it wasn't gameplay? No, you're correct. The second trailer, I break it down in my video coming later today, Chill Will. It ain't gameplay. I told people at the dadgum time it wasn't gameplay. Same with Fable. It's so frustrating. It's been so frustrating covering that brand for all these years. And every time you try to do it, you get called a fanboy, an Xbox hater, a pony. It's like, you know, and now I don't know if you guys saw it. I corrected the gamer on Twitter because they just flat out lied in a tweet. They lied and said, yeah, PlayStation raised their prices. This has never been done before. No console's ever done this before mid-gen. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, Xbox did it last year. And people are like, you're just doing the Xbox did it too thing. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that at all. You're lying. You're lying to the public. You're saying that, yeah, PlayStation just raised their prices. Yeah, no console's ever done this before mid-gen. And I'm like, huh? What? What do you mean? Yes, they have. They did it just last year. This is so stupid. The comments are all hilarious. The comments are a bunch of losers who are okay with being lied to. That's the fastest way to let me know that you are a loser. You're like, no, it's totally fine. It's totally fine that they lie. This is just an opportunity for me to call you a pony. And it's like, you're a loser, man. You are just a loser. Going nowhere in life if you're okay with being lied to. It's like, huh? So they got community noted and they deleted the tweet. And I was like, that's exactly what should happen. You're spreading falsehood. This isn't some random troll. It's an outlet that people rely on for information. Buttery Cheeks with the $5 super chat says, Lono, Marathon has been losing 8,000 to 10,000 players week over week. I predict it'll drop sub 20,000 before May. At that point, it's an undeniable flop. Well, and I have been on the show with Ginger, and I've said it there a couple times. I've said it here a couple times. People are like, oh, it's not Concord and it's not High Guard. I'm like, if it's headed to the same destination, does it really matter? Does it really matter? What difference does it make? If you get fired in January and this other guy gets fired in February and I get fired in the summer and we all get fired for the same reason, we all suck at our job, does it really matter? You gonna brag? Yeah, but I didn't get fired until summer, boys. Yeah, you know, it took me longer to get fired. You know, you got fired faster than I got fired. Y'all got fired. Y'all suck. What difference does it make? Same destination with more cost, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Who cares? The destination is the same. And listen, the destination is the same and the diagnosis is the same. The diagnosis was, this isn't going to work. It doesn't have legs. It's not going to last. What? And we were all told we were wrong, and we were told we were hating. And it's like, what difference does it make? The diagnosis was the same. If everybody's telling you that you're sick, and everybody's telling you need treatment, and you're like, nah, I'm fine, and you live a little bit longer than the guy next to you, does it really matter? You both had the same diagnosis. You both were sick. It doesn't matter. Like, that's a little bit more morbid, but it's like, that's what's happening to the game right now. Yeah, but Concord didn't get fired. It went out and walked right into the propeller. That's true. I mean, that's true. That's true, Zubair. It is. But does it really matter? Broken Earth with a $5 super chat says, I mean, I could argue that I suck at my job less than you do if I got fired after you did. It makes a difference in that sense. Sure. We're measuring how much of a loser are you? I'm not the biggest loser. This would be a very different show than the one that they had to take off the air because they were literally abusing those poor people's bodies, having them take all kind of weird like salt pills and stuff. What an abhorrent show that ended up being. Good night. But this would be a very different show called The Biggest Loser. Like, well, tell us, Dave. Well, I took a little bit longer to crash the plane. You know, it still crashed. You know, there are degrees of sucking. Pause. I suck less. They let me work 2 more days than you. That's right. That is right. It's a race to the bottom. Whoever gets there last wins. That's exactly right. It's a race to no players. You know, whoever gets there last is the winner. You know, if you get there first, you're a rotten egg. If you ain't first, you're last. Enjoy last place. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. The frustration with this is, I think, is that the conversation could never be an actual conversation. It's been like drenched in like a presumptive battle. And it's like, well, what are you fighting for? Are you fighting because you want people to give the game a chance? Well, that's fine. But I think it's probably good. My chair was not in like the right spot. I was looking up there. I was like, something's off. I am. Real question, which games got refunds? Yeah, Concord. I don't think people got refunds for High Guard because High Guard was free to play. So, but I don't know if they were going to issue refunds for like microtransactions. Meanwhile, Microsoft is firing Perfect Dark before it even launches. I guess PlayStation did that to Bluepoint game too. Bluepoint wasn't working on a game. Bluepoint was working on a live service game that was canceled, and then they basically failed to come up with something to do. They failed with something. They couldn't come up with something to do. They didn't. I'm sorry. They didn't fail to come up with something to do. They came up with something to do, and FromSoft said no. Yo, what's good, Parasito? 41 months. I can already feel another day of questioning how people are able to so royally F things up and being in awe of the hubris of some people. Thank you so much, Paris. I appreciate that. That's a lot of months. 41 months. I mean, I asked the question this morning, Paris. I think there's two burning questions. The first burning question is, how are you not managing cheating in a game with such a small population? Like, you're dropping down to like 10,000 players on Steam. Like, how are you not able to get cheating under wrangle it to the ground? And the other question I have is, how does a weapon that needs to be nerfed by 35%, how does that even get into the game? Who tested that weapon? Who's testing your weapons? Who? Like, so you guys made that weapon and you used it a couple of times and thought, yeah, this is good. And then you had to nerf it by 35% and it's still considered a highly lethal weapon? I disagree about the 35% nerf. In what way? What do you disagree with? You disagree that they shouldn't have done it? Or that you have to expound on what you're saying. For Loop and Horizon Hunters Gathering and Fair Games are the next to fail. I think they should all just be canceled. The only thing in For Loop's corner is that it's PvE, and if it's a small budget, they could get a decent little community of people to support the game and buy it and spend money. For Loop's probably way less of a risk because it's probably a much more lean budget, and with it being PvE, I think it has greater potential to just get a decent audience that just supports it. Again, it depends on the size of the budget. That's always going to be the dilemma with something like Highguard that had significant funding behind it. Concord had significant funding behind it, and now we got Bungie's operational costs attached to something. That's the dilemma facing these games. Same with Horizon Hunters Gathering. Operational costs for that game and Guerrilla's budget. I think Marathon has been out too long for Sony to refund them. Yeah, I don't think refunds are coming, Gale, and I don't think the people playing Marathon would want a refund. I think most of them feel like they've gotten their money's worth. Destiny 2's anti-cheat is exactly the same. It's a giant turd. So why are we surprised when Marathon, which uses the same anti-cheat, is exactly the same? Because they said they were going to have like server-side authority that would help with this. Bungie have always dropped overtuned weapons and aspirational content to generate hype and then nerf it later. It lasted a week, Bumble Pants. I mean, I don't know if that's what this was for. Quave says maybe they'll go the free-to-play route before they let it die, probably Season 3. Yo, good morning, Ginger. I don't even think at the current trajectory, how could there be a Season 3? How could there be a Season 3? Like, Season 2 is going to light this thing on fire. Like, look at the trajectory. In the wake of the aspirational content, the ranked playlist, and the cryo archive getting added to the game, they have just continued to just nosedive. I mean, just to the ground. That joystick is forward. Dookie Wave says, it's a pinnacle weapon in the game. You get it by beating Marathon, killing the compiler. It chews through ammo fast, and you can only get more ammo from killing the compiler again. It's fine for it to be overpowered because it's so limited. It's game design thing of it's more fun to win with this than it sucks to lose to this. Net fun concept in game design. That's what I'm thinking of. Apparently, Dookie Wave, but I'm reading that it still is absolutely lethal and can still wipe a team relatively quickly. I mean, I get what you're saying. If the ammo economy of it is limited to beating the compiler again, do you really want to be out there using it against people? Wouldn't you want to save your ammo to use? Wouldn't you want to? I've not played. I'm asking. Wouldn't you want to use this against the compiler as strong as it is? I can't wait for co-op Horizon Hunters Gathering with you. Let's hunt. No. Just join. What game is this? We're talking Marathon. They've now got a new problem on their hand. If you guys are watching on YouTube and you just got here, like Mr. Bradster, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. That really, really helps us out. It's always loads in with a ton of ammo. You do not have to get ammo for it to use it consistently. Wait, what? Dookie Wave just said that the only way to get ammo for it is to kill the compiler. You're saying it loads in with ammo? Dookie Wave says, how many copies of the weapon are there in total? I have 100 hours in the game, and I've never run into it. I pinged Lono in the wrong channel. Get out, Fuzzy. Get the frick out. Why are you're pinging me in the Marathon channel? What kind of violence? Just... Mother... You're dead to me. You are dead to me, Fuzzy. Stop it. Now I want to rename the Marathon again. I had to go unfollow the post. I wish you could see how annoying it is when Discord does that. If I could just turn the feature off, it wouldn't matter. You know what I mean? Sci-Fireman says, you get into the game with a default loaded clip. You have no extra ammo. Okay, Cryo Archive is basically impossible for most players. I think it's fun and aspirational to have such a strong weapon. Okay, I don't think your opinion is necessarily that crazy. I tend to agree with you in games like this. Like, in games like Destiny, I would commonly say something very similar to what you said, that we should have really good loot at the top. Velez, thank you so much for 16 months. New job, better hours. I can work and lurk. My man. Thank you so much for lurking while you're working. Guys, check your renewals and check your primes and check that you've hit the like button. Let's try to get to 200 likes before we've been streaming for an hour. And your renewals and primes add to the total on the week. So thank you everybody who's doing that. Marathon needs reload while sprinting and a big nerf to knife attacks. I mean, you're talking about how to set the table when the house is on fire, brother. I don't think any of that stuff matters right now. Marathon has earned Lono more profit than Bungie. Think about that. That's not true. That is not true. No. If I somehow have made that level of money doing this, I would retire. I'd be frickin' gone. I'd be writing books instead. If I was making that kind of money. The big difference is that where you get the weapon in Destiny, it's out there forever. Marathon weapons dissolve after changing hands 4 to 5 times. That's another minutia of the game that I would argue is just absolutely ridiculous. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? You kill a guy, and you're like, yeah, dude, look at what he's got. And then it dissolves. Like, you know what I mean? Well, I guess that loot had been out there in the rain too much. Minch Tree with 55 months in a VIP says, do you think Marathon tries a full PvE mode to try to get more players in, or they die on the PvE hill? Oh, it's hard to know. It's hard to know. I mean, I said this about Destiny 2, that when they started doing the Star Wars stuff, Starfield update today. Yeah. Yep. We are going to celebrate Starfield finally coming to PlayStation in light of all the hate and all the vitriol and the attacks that I got. I'm sure none of those people that use their platforms to do that, none of them will give me flowers today, right? That would take, integrity. But we're celebrating by not talking about it or playing it because we just don't care. So that's my big, huge victory lap on Starfield, Anyways, so as far as the PvE mode, what I was saying is when Destiny 2 started doing the Star Wars stuff, I said that they needed to die with dignity. Right? They needed to die with dignity. It's like, this is not the way for your game to go out to sea. It looks kind of, pathetic and a little desperate, And it didn't do anything. It didn't change anything for Destiny. It didn't turn the numbers around. And I wonder if internally that's a conversation that they're having about Marathon. Like, listen, we should die with dignity here. We took our shot. It didn't work. This game is not going to last. It's not going to survive the year. So, let's die with dignity. Let's not throw everything at the wall. Let's not do free to play. Let's not do PvE because it's not going to work. It's not going to change anything. It's just going to look desperate. And then it'll just it'll add insults to injury. Like while the boat is sinking, you're going to desperately try to, throw someone overboard, and then you just look then you look worse as the boat sinks. I still love your Starfield PS5 reveal thumbnail. I don't know which one you're talking about. Oh, the one where I like had my hand over my face or whatever. I have a theory about why Marathon is in the state that it is from a software standpoint, says Parasito. Bungie have never really been known for having legion of engineers. They prefer artists on staff. I genuinely think Marathon started its life as a fork from the D2 Crucible, from right around the time the Battle Eye was added. From that point on, the Marathon engineers were playing catch-up to integrate fixes that were made on D2, such as guns doing FPS-based damage, ability calculations, and anti-cheat. Early on, Bungie and Battle Eye are more of a canary than a bouncer. They didn't give it much in the way of automated bans or suspensions. I also think that they are quickly relearning the same lessons they did when they promised to focus on the Crucible for years, only to fall on their face and just keep releasing PvE content. Too long didn't read. I think Marathon is just a technical replay of the Crucible and Trials from 5 or 6 years ago, without the manpower to be proactive in their fixes. Yo, it's good, Mr. Drexen. Is Starfield a 50-hour tutorial? I need a game to actually play instead of following someone for an hour. And yes, I'm talking about Cyberpunk. I don't think like the onboarding or the tutorial in Starfield is that bad. Cyberpunk's onboarding and tutorial is pretty bad. I loved Phantom Liberty, but the vanilla onboarding and tutorial in Cyberpunk is probably one of the worst I've ever interacted with. And there are even fans that love Cyberpunk that agree with me on that. So I don't think the onboarding and the tutorial in Starfield is the issue. I think the meat of the game is boring, but that's my perspective. You might experience it differently than me. Dookie Wave says the big difference is when you get the weapon in Destiny. Oh, I already read that. Sorry. I don't get the counterpoint. I don't think I made much of a counterpoint other than... Let me say it this way, Dookie Wave. I think Marathon has been a walking contradiction since day one. It's a walking contradiction. It's a game where loot matters, but it's also not supposed to matter. It's a game where your goal and your mission is to get loot that's taken away from you in a very short order. It's a game where the loot matters, but the loot is commonly a pain point for your chagrin. Like... It's a walking contradiction. Hey, come get this loot. But the loot doesn't really matter, though. You got to hold the loot loosely in your hand. You're going to lose loot all the time. But hey, go through all that frustration and pain to come get this loot that doesn't matter. What? Huh? I don't, like... I get that it speaks to some people. I'm not saying that it doesn't speak to some people. There are people in our community that I know, man, they're in there. They love it. And they'll preach that gospel to you. They're like, oh, you don't get it. You don't get it. We get it. It's like, okay, that's great. I'm glad you guys are getting it and having fun. And I know that by now they've by and large gotten their money's worth. They spent $40 and they've lived in this game. You know, there are guys in our Discord that have more than gotten their money's worth out of this game, right? That doesn't go against anything that I'm saying. It's a walking contradiction. It's been a walking contradiction since day one. You made aspirational PvE content, and the way to get there is to be a hardcore PvP player. That is a walking contradiction. Imagine your access to a raid or a dungeon in Destiny required you to go to the lighthouse. How frustrating would that have been? How absolutely irritating would that have been? Oh, yeah, no, you need a key. Yeah, you need a key to get into that dungeon or that raid. Where's the key? It's in the lighthouse. You got to go flawless. I'm sorry, what did you just say to me? That never would have worked. People would have been incensed, infuriated. They would have been like, I'm not doing that. That's such a contradiction in motivation. It's such a contradiction in incentives. It's why the game appeals to such a small group of people. No offense to the people that like this game. You're the best kind of weird there is. I love weird people. The people that like Marathon, you're weird. You're the best kind of weird there is. Because you like something that's just a weird amalgamation and combination. And I love people like you. But there's not enough of you. There just aren't. You are the best kind of weird. I love weird people that love weird stuff. Waldo Emerson said, every man is an expert in an area that I am not. Every man is a genius in an area that I am not. And in that, I learn from him. Like, you like things and you get into things that I'm never going to touch. And I can learn from you and glean from your perspective. But dadgummit, you're weird, and so is the game, and that makes it really unappealing. It's had a death sentence since they conceived of it. Well, not since they conceived of it. It's had a death sentence. No offense to Joe Ziegler. This game has been a dead man walking since Joe Ziegler took over. He turned the game into something that is absolutely unlikable by the general public. I don't know who thought that was a good idea for a live service game. The whole thing makes no sense. You brought in a guy from Riot. Like, his pedigree's undeniable. His pedigree's undeniable. And you made a game for like 1% of the people that even like live service games? Hang on, I do have somebody to thank here. Gaming Ledger with a $5 super chat. We're at a point of the live service saturation. I'm not sure how much differentiation can be created. Do studios just chase live service with popular IP? I mean, I don't know. I feel like we said the same thing about live service being saturated last year, but then Marvel Rivals exploded and then Arc Raiders exploded. I mean, I feel like we said it even before Helldivers 2 exploded. I think there's room in the market for live service. I continue to think room in live service is primarily centered around PvE experiences because the casual dads of the world, we are legion. There's more of us than there are of you. Get used to it. There's a reason that skill-based matchmaking exists, and it primarily hurts the top 10% of gamers because you're the minority. You sweatheads are the minority. You hardcore players are the minority. You might move the needle if you're a whale. Like, I know there are hardcore players that are whales. Like, you might move the needle, but you don't move player-based needles. Player-based needles are moved, and they live and die by the mid-lane player. The mid-lane player it matters significantly. I made this in honor of your dedication to Starfield. Yeah. Listen. It finally happened, boys. That is truly terrible. That is horrific. Somebody somewhere can't get clean water today because you made that. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's just, wow. I like weird movies written by weird people. Yo, it's good. Sneaky Platypus. Good morning, Lono Kent. Don't take the glasses off. You might give away your secret identity. That's right. You can suck at games without being a dad. You too can be garbage at games without being a dad. You can. Yes. You can achieve the greatness that I have achieved, which is mediocrity in video games. It's a wonderful thing. I love it. I need a huge poster of that on my wall. Haseo gifts a member and bumps a line to 70. We're a 5-bomb away from 75. Thank you so much, Mr. Haseo. Gale says, there's room for extraction shooters on console, but games like Hunt Showdown have a small budget and a team behind them. Marathon had too much money behind it for a genre that doesn't have huge appeal. Let's take that up as a conversation, Gale, because I think that's a very interesting way to look at this. Because at some level, I think you're right, but I think bigger picture, you are so woefully wrong, okay? So yes, I think at some level you're right. Like a small, lean budget team could maybe get an extraction shooter to do well on console. Here's the secret. Make it PvE. Make it PvE. Don't tell anybody I told you this, okay? Keep it under your hat. Make your little PvE extraction shooter. I'm here to tell you, you could make a killing, but just don't tell anybody I told you. PvE is the secret, okay? Okay, that's just between us. Now, so at that level, you're right. Here's where you're woefully wrong. With the money, pedigree, marketing push of Bungie and Sony, Marathon looks like this. This is where you're wrong. Like, I do feel like you are trying to ski uphill. Even with the money and the marketing of Sony and the pedigree of Bungie and the brand awareness that they had, this is where they're headed. This game is headed in the opposite direction that like Hunt Showdown and Tarkov are. If you look at like Hunt Showdown and Tarkov, you can clearly see they sort of grow their player base over time. This game is headed for the exact opposite direction. So, like, I think you're right, but I also think, like, I don't know if that's the fundamental problem. And a 5-bomb from Twitch steals it right under YouTube's nose. 1,300, yikes. There's maintenance going on. Ignore the 1,300, boys. Ignore that. There's maintenance going on. It's Tuesday. Johnny always just sniped it. Right now, I owe 2 members to YouTube, and I owe 1 member to Twitch. So, I feel like even the Marathon kind of proves like this is not an easy thing to do right now. You might be skiing uphill. You might be ice skating uphill or whatever it is that he says. I think I always mess the line up. You're trying to do something that's almost assuredly not going to work. It's going to have a significant difficult challenge of getting a user base to keep coming back. Fuzzy says this is anecdotal, but when I'm filling, I'm 90% chance I'm playing with a dad. Just over the weekend, me and my one teammate had to keep watch while the third teammate was dealing with kid stuff. Well, I would never say that there are no dads in the game, but casual dad gamers that would find the casual dads that would never come into a game like Marathon, right? It's just too sweaty. It's just too difficult. It's not that there aren't dads. Like, the odds of you running into a dad are so high, Fuzzy. Think about the age demographic and the gender trends within games, within shooters, within competitive shooters. All those trends increase the likelihood you're going to run into a dude in his 30s or 40s with a kiddo. Like, it's just a very good chance that that's who you're going to run into. We're everywhere. We are everywhere, and we're all across the spectrum. Like, there are dads right now still throwing down in PvP games. Man, they love it. They've not hung up their spurs. And then there's those of us that have. Casual dad in Marathon right here. There are some of us. Right. I don't think I've ever wanted to indicate that there are no casual dads in Marathon. It's that there's probably a very small amount. Or it's not that there's a small amount. They could make up a good percentage of the player base. It's that most of us have said no. Like, the player base numbers make that very clear. It's like we didn't respond very strongly to this game. I would have been homies. I would have been playing with this with my wife on the couch if it was a PvE game. My wife and I put a ridiculous amount of hours into Borderlands as a franchise, and we played a bunch of Borderlands 4, rolled credits on Borderlands 4. We would have played this game if it had a PvE option. We would have. Like, do you see? It's like there's an awful lot of people that just got sort of, I don't even know how to say it. Like, we were, it's not that they ignored us. It's that, man, oh man, there's an awfully big demographic that you just didn't even remotely try to tap into at all. And I think Bungie knew it. Quit stereotyping gaming dads. There's plenty of us willing to neglect our kids to play. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Jack. BL4 is lacking in-game content. We had fun with BL4 playing the campaign. That's all we really needed from it. We got all the way to the end of Sworn again last night, a really, really fun Hades clone that you can play co-op. It's on console. It's really excellent little Hades clone. And we got all the way to King Arthur again last night. There's a new mechanic where we have to, like, get 3 gems and a crown and then do a boss rush. And then when you fight him, he drinks the cup and turns into a dragon. And I was like, whenever he did it last night, I was like, you're lying. Madam thought it was so funny. We did not beat him as a dragon. So I think that's how you truly beat the game, because it says we're at 80%, even though we beat King Arthur. Very fun game. I highly recommend it. But, like, we would have played Marathon. We would have. Would have been grinding every night and getting loot. My wife loves loot. She loves loot. You guys watched her play Starfield, and she overloaded the robot in the first mission. We didn't even know you could do that. I bet you Bethesda didn't even know you could do that. She put so much junk into the robot, he was permanently crouching. My wife loves loot. She got that from playing Borderlands with me. She'll always tell you the story about how she got a backpack upgrade from a dumpster in Borderlands 1. I don't even know if it's supposed to be possible. I feel like it was a glitch in the loot table. Like, a backpack upgrade is not supposed to be discovered in that way, and she found one from a frickin' dumpster. So my wife loves loot. We would have played this game and had fun with it if it was PvE. That's a pretty big demographic. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying that would have saved the game. But that's a pretty big demographic of people. SDO says, Lono, like you, not just slowing down as we get older, we just don't want to be in competition with anyone in a small amount of spare time. That's the other thing, SDO, that I think people really forget is a lot of times when we talk about live service, what people will talk about is there's only so many players in the pie. I think that's very good commentary. I think that can be very helpful to think about the fact that, like, listen, there's just only so many people, and there's only so many people in that pie that could potentially land in your live service game. There's a whole other element to this pie. There's only so many hours that all those people can afford to give you. So maybe they play a couple of live service games. Maybe there's a slice of the Arc Raiders pie, and maybe they come over in here and they play this game as well. When they're gambling with their time, their ability mentally to, like, willingly gamble with that time is linked to the probability of success. Like, they're not going to gamble with their time if it's a very, very low probability of success. They're just not going to. They're not. Your commitment to exposing the reality of Marathon is vital. It's refreshing to see someone providing a platform for the players' concerns. So this is on 5 days ago. This was on the subreddit of Marathon. Knowing exactly where you are is one thing. On Outpost at dorms, they are now able to get into the ceiling of the second floor, shoot you through the floor, and then drop through the floor on top of you. I got my $40 worth. Great game. Will uninstall and never look back if this gets any more out of control. This is 5 days ago. It has 22 comments and no updates. How is that even possible? This guy's like, I'm 150 hours in this game. I've only run into one person I suspect of cheating. Maybe you just got unlucky. There's always a not me Andy. Always. Let me downvote your comment. There's always a not me Andy. They're just so quick to jump on it. Not me. Must be a you problem. You must have installed that patch that draws cheaters to you. You got that honeypot patch installed. Did you read through the Marathon patch notes that came out today already? No. Are they significant? What did they do? I had a 45 minutes to an hour to play at night, says Perfect Eggs. Just give me team deathmatch or other game modes in Marathon because I love the gameplay. Is this pretty much it, Fuzzy? Is this like the highlights? New Marathon update. UI, fixed Vault Armory appearing empty, fixed Armory refresh. Free daily items not showing consistently combat. Knife nerf. Lunge distance is down approximately 10%. Targeting angle is down approximately 20%. Bubble shield. Rarities going up to purple. HP is going to go down 30%. Volt vulnerability removed. 70% resistance versus the UESC. Runners. A melee bonus versus players has been reduced. It's been unchanged against PvE. Fixes. The grapple slide exploit's been patched. Traxxas contract requirement eased. Cryo archive exfil reset bug fixed. There you go. That's okay. Let's see here. Well, that's, hang on. There we go. I'll just put my little YouTube stream on that tweet if it's doing numbers. Seems like they nerfed it. They've done a handful of nerfs. You can't even see a detailed post-game info. You can't even see a detailed post-game info in Marathon. Like, I would like to know how much damage I did to a player who killed me. They just effed up the most basic things. Redditors once again proving that they have a room temp IQ and cannot physically comprehend generalizations. The subreddit is deader than the game. Oh no. It seems with how aggressive the enemies are in Marathon that a PvE mode is in there somewhere. Well, the one time I had fun in Marathon, I had squad filled, and we were flanking some robots that had spawned for I think they were reinforcements. And we were flanking and using our abilities to get against them. We were kind of in a hurry. We were trying to get to an exfil. And it was like a glimmer of fun. I was like, there's something here. There's something here. I think that's why people have sung the praises of Cryo Archive. Yeah, the one time I had fun in Marathon, that's what I was doing. I was working with randoms against bots. And I was like, there's a secret sauce here. It's there. Bungie knows how to deliver on that. They know how to deliver on that. To me, it's like somebody who's really, really, really good at juggling, and they're trying to do stand-up comedy. And it's like, okay, yeah, you can kind of do stand-up comedy, but you're just really good at juggling. And it's like, what Bungie's really, really good at is just not what they attempted to build. I think I've said for a lot of my coverage that I feel like they don't know what they're doing. In this environment, I don't feel like they know what they're doing. The default approach to this was no procs chat. I mean, think about how many things that they got wrong at the game's inception. We've talked about this a lot with games. When, like, a game studio does something, we're like, yeah, that's really indicative of, like, this is probably not going to be very good. Like, I don't know, making Snape black. Like, and then admitting you haven't even read all of the books. So that's just an indication of, like, yeah, you guys don't really know what you're doing with the story of Harry Potter. That show's probably going to be, it's probably not going to be very good, okay? It's not built to last. They don't understand the trajectories of the character arcs. They made fundamentally stupid decisions. We've said this about game design as well. If you make fundamentally stupid decisions, that's probably baked into the crust of the entire game, like you don't know what you're doing. I want you to think about how many things they got wrong from the beginning with this game that had to be changed. Like, I don't know, the game was only built for trios. Do you guys remember that? Did you forget? Did you forget that that's how this game was originally built? What bonehead who was building this game for live service thought that that was a good idea? That's how stupidly drunk on hubris they are. How dumb can you be? I mean, that's big dumb, y'all. To think that, like, we're going to enter the live service landscape and you always have to be in a trio. Yeah, they admitted they haven't even read all the books, Fuzzy. Like, one of the main guys involved hasn't read all the books. So, probably doesn't even understand the ramifications of, like, what they've done with Snape. Like, again, that show is on a collision course with just absolute, utter failure. They didn't think about any of the ramifications of, like, why it's probably not a good idea to make Snape black. Like, absolute idiocy. The height of stupidity. In a similar token, y'all, they built Marathon for trios only. Do you remember that? No safe pocket, no proximity chat, and you always have to be in a trio. And look at what they had to do in the lead up to the game. They had to make it to where you could actually play the dadgum game solo. It wasn't going to be built for solo, like, at all. Do you remember that? Homies, I'm trying to be nice. That's how dumb they were about this game. They were trying to ship a live service game what you basically couldn't play by yourself. Are you stupid? Do you not look at your own trends in your own 10-year player base of Destiny? You don't think your game should appeal to people who might want to play by themselves? How dumb. And then, 1 or 2 weeks into the game's launch, what are they doing? What are they doing? They're testing duos. Oh, I wonder why you're testing duos. Like, you have to see. I've said it since last year. They don't know what they're doing in this environment. They don't. They've demonstrated that time and time again. They tried to ship a live service game in 2025 that got delayed to 2026. They had a game built for live service in 2025 where you were going to have to always be in a trio. Absolutely brain dead. You can't get dumber than that. That's so out of step with what people are going to expect from a game like this. No safe pocket, gotta be in trios. And then the game, before the game comes out, they're like, well, we set it up so there's a solo queue. I'm sorry, are we supposed to stand and applaud you doing the most basic thing? Oh my gosh, how thoughtful of you. A solo queue. So when I'm playing by myself, I go against people who are also by themselves. Gee, wow, what a genius. Wow, where did you come up with this idea? And then the game's not even out for a week or two, and they're testing duos? Of course they're testing duos, because people are like, I don't always want to be in a trio. They built this game from the ground up with these types of decisions baked into the crust, y'all. It's about as smart as making Snape black. Because it's just going to have ramifications on everything that comes after launch. It's not Bungie's fault. They never had to deal with the issue of solo players before every piece of content they ever made for a decade. What is concern trolling? Y'all are concerned trolling about Black Snape? Really? Like, I'm a huge fan of Harry Potter, and I'm reading the books to my children, and I was very excited about the show coming out, and my kids have been reading the books with me, and then when I'm done reading the book to them, we watch the movies together, and you think I'm concerned trolling about one of probably the most egregiously stupid casting decisions I think I have ever seen in modern media? Couldn't have made a dumber decision. You couldn't have picked a worse character and a worse decision. I can't think of a worse example. It is the worst. It takes the cake. It gets to wear the crown. It does. Why is it hard for people to understand that a lot of PvPers likely have like one friend to team up with? Yeah, typically. Yeah. It's very common. Y'all cried about having voice over IP. Nobody uses it in this trash game. Well, Carlos, that's a complex web, isn't it? You are both correct, but I also think your analysis is falling short. I think you're correct. Yeah, nobody's using it. Now let's go beyond that. Why do you think nobody's using it? Why do you think nobody's using the proximity chat in Marathon? Give me some reasons. Just theorize it. And I think you'll start to see why I'm saying what I'm saying. You could make Wonder Woman a man. That might be worse. Only dude from an island. Yeah. Making Wonder Woman a man would have been just about as bad. While I agree it's bad casting, I disagree with the conclusion that the show is probably going to be bad. I don't think so. Literally everything else looked great. It's a show, it is literally a story about characters and character arcs that are significant. And they just made fundamental changes to one of the best character arcs in the entirety of the literary work. Check my last few messages ago. All right, hang on, Parasito. Oh, no, yeah. Yeah, exactly, Paris. We've talked about that. It's clear they didn't read the books. They don't know what happens to Snape. They don't know how significant he is. They don't know what James Potter does to him. They don't know the fact that, like, Lupin and Sirius Black also pick on Snape. Like, all of those intricacies, they're not aware of them. They're going to completely mishandle it. They're going to completely mishandle it, I promise you. It's going to be bad. They're going to fundamentally change significant character arcs. It's going to be terrible. One of the most, if not, they're probably the second most important character, maybe third most important character in the book. They fundamentally changed him. And it's going to be terrible. I have zero confidence in it being any good. When the guy's like, yo, I haven't even read all the books yet. Yeah, that's clear. We can tell. Check logs on that guy. Most likely saying that on purpose. There's nothing inherently wrong with him being black. His race has nothing to do with his characterization. Spoken like someone who's never read the books. I'm not doing this. We're talking gaming. We're talking Marathon. I'm using that as an example. We look at things like that, and we're like, when you make that level of a foundational decision that's going to affect the entirety of the work, that is something that Bungie did with Marathon. Bungie made foundational decisions about this game before it came out. Like, listen, if you're Bungie, okay, if you're Bungie and you've been working on a live service game for a decade and you think you're going to launch a live service game that doesn't have a solo queue and doesn't have a duo queue, you've really got to ask the question, what was happening along the way with this game? Like, what was happening? You have no safe pocket in the extraction shooter, no proximity chat, you have no solo queue, no duo queue, you got to play as a trio. Yeah, I think I just figured it out. It just came to me. Like a lightning bolt. Do you want to know why? I want you guys to guess. See if you can figure it out. Why do you think Marathon was by default only three players? Why? Why do you think? No solo queue, no duo queue. Purely 3-man squads. See if you guys can figure it out. I just figured it out. It hit me like a lightning bolt. It's something we've talked about before with Marathon. So if you had to hazard a guess why, in the course of the 5 or 6 years they were building this, why was that a foundational decision that was made? It was baked into the game. Cisco's got it. Yeah, Cisco's going in the right direction. Trials. This was originally conceived of as a game mode. It's baked into the crust. It was just going to be a game mode. It's like Trials. Trials is a game mode. It has rules. It has limitations. It was a Destiny mode. Exactly, Zubair. It is a Destiny mode. That's how this was conceived. And they ripped it from that. And when you rip it from that context, those things don't make any sense anymore. You're like, huh? What the heck? What? 3? Why 3? It's just a fork in Crucible? Right, like what Parasito said. It's a fork of Crucible. It's like this was designed to be some kind of like when Anon the 9 said there were going to be public spaces that were PvPvE in Destiny 3. This is what he was talking about. This was the early conception of that. This was Destiny 3 content. You can even tell from the maps. Oh, I firmly believe that. Isn't that how a lot of new game projects were conceived of, to be fair? Yeah. No, that's fine, Sketch. But you got to go back to the drawing board at that point and say, well, if this is going to be more than a mode, we have to think about this in a more robust way. Do you see the point that I'm making, Sketch? Like, yeah, that's true. Plenty of games are birthed this way. I mean, Fortnite was. Which is one of the reasons why a lot of these game companies have done this. They thought we can do the same thing. They launched a game mode that did so well. Oh my gosh. Hang on a second. No. My friends just sent pictures of their kids. They're in a different time zone. You guys just have to wait. Oh, my heart. Oh, they look so big. Give me 1 second, chat. Anyways, yesterday Marathon was 76 in the DAU. Now it's already 81. Tuesdays are always going to slip significantly because of the maintenance. It has assumptions baked in from its origin that needed to be reevaluated. That's exactly right. 100% this was a Destiny mode, but Bungie was worried that it would steal Destiny players away or not attract other players afraid of Destiny to try it, so they slapped the Marathon IP on it. Seems like it could have been Drifter-related content. Yeah, I could see the Drifter being like, get down there and extract, you know what I mean? Bank those motes and summon a primeval, you know, like his voice, like, get down there and extract. Like, you're like, what the frick? Like, but he would have you researching technology. He'd have you doing different things. Yeah, I could totally see the Drifter being involved. If a Marathon-like mode was intended for Destiny, I would have avoided it for the PvE-only content and a clear divide of Crucible content. Sure. But what the point that I was getting at, and the point that Zubair made is, you've really got to reevaluate these things. It's hard to feel bad for a game like this not doing well when so many of us were saying all along the way, this is just a game mode. Like, you're launching a game mode. It's clear that this was something that was intended to be a part of Destiny 3. You ripped it out. You retrofitted Marathon to it as an IP, and you thought, we're Bungie. We're the makers of Destiny and Halo. Put that at the beginning of the trailer, and we'll crush it. And it's like, and now here we sit, and you're staring at a situation that I'm genuinely curious. At what point are they going to have that hard conversation with the public, if ever? Like, I really am curious where this goes. It's like, at some point, they've got to level with the public. It's headed toward where right now they've had to react to people in smaller regions saying matchmaking's taking too long. People in South America were already, were complaining just last weekend. Like a week ago. Like 1 week ago, people in South America were complaining about matchmaking times taking too long. It was on Reddit, and the guy was like, yeah, it takes 3 minutes. I finally get into a game, and, it's laggy or whatever. And so, to me, it's like, okay, if that's happening now, and then the numbers are continuing to go down low, you're going to be dealing with people that are not in small regions. You're going to be dealing with people that are not, even playing during peak hours. You're going to have people that are like, hey, what's going on here? I can't even play right now. When we see Marathon on Game Pass, I don't think that's the solution. Butters says, not saying it would have done any better, but do you think Bungie wasted the potential of a Marathon IP resurgence with this, and they could have made it a new IP? I think if this mode was attached to a very well-built and robust single-player campaign, and maybe there was a middle ground piece of content as well, like some co-op PvE stuff, I think they could have had an absolute banger on their hands. It just feels so lopsided. It's top-heavy content without a foundation. Think about it, Butters. It's trials. It's a raid. It's a dungeon, and it's got nothing to stand on. It just topples over. It's top-heavy content with no foundation. It's like, what? Where's the rest of the game? Where's the rest of the game? It's like Trials without a Destiny. That's what it feels like. It's like, this is crazy hardcore aspirational, and it's attached to, like, nothing. Do you remember when we said, like, playing through the server slam? Do you remember when we said that it felt like we were playing a game that was expecting us to, like, already speak its language? It was like assuming things of the player. It felt weird. It was like, I felt like I was jumping into something that had already been out for a while, and I was like, kind of like, I was trying to come in midstream. So, man, this is kind of tough. That's what this feels like. It's like if there would have been a campaign where you kind of slowly figure out movement, guns, healing, this, that, and the third. Then you have some middle ground, PvE co-op content, and then you have like the more volatile areas where there's other players and you can get attacked. And then there's like the outpost. And then there's the cryo archive, right? You would have felt sort of like tethered to that world. It would there just isn't anything. You're just like, this is a top-heavy game with zero foundation. I would have 100% bought this if it had a single-player story. I bought the last COD Modern Warfare games because of the single-player story. This person says, are you on Discord? Yeah. I tell you what, your account's a day old, so there you go. Probably, like, spamming. That's my assumption. You're just here to spam. In the hopes to, I don't know. I don't want people gifting members and for an account that's minutes old getting one. I bet in the next couple of weeks, Bungie will be announcing a PvE mode. Yo, good morning, Lono. What's going on? What's good, Symbol the Rapper? How are you? How are you doing? I agree with that, says Gale. 3/4 of the maps are trials, with the last being a raid, but with the head bashing of trials climb baked into it. I like it, but I'm not surprised the gaming audience rejected it. Yo, what's good, Bellows? I would not buy this just for a 4-hour story. It needs way more depth. Right. I certainly don't think it would have... I don't necessarily think it would have completely changed the reception of it, but it certainly would change the way that the game feels. Like, again, it feels like a top-heavy game with no foundation. Yeah, I am in a Discord. We have a members-only Discord. Like, when a brand new account on Twitch wanders into my stream, we have 100 viewers in the just chatting directory. It's somebody scamming or botting. Like, that's not a genuine person. Yo, good morning, feed. Yo, what's good, Gritter? I second that. I also think a PvE mode is coming. I bet the PvE mode is already baked into the game. Bungie is waiting for the hero moment to flip the switch to enable it. So, I've been brainstorming about this. Right? I've been brainstorming about what they could do to turn things around. I actually think they would have to have a pretty hat-in-hand, humble stream where they say, I don't know. I think they just have to be straight up honest and just say, this is the reality we're facing. We want to do right by the people that like Marathon, that have paid for Marathon, and that have been playing it. But the reality is, the player numbers are going to get too low, and you guys won't be able to enjoy this game. And the only way this changes is if we make some significant and foundational adjustments. Like, that needs to be like your opener. You've got to do a hat-in-hand, humble stream where you're like, we tried. And this, as it exists right now, the people that are playing it love it, but there's just not enough of you. We have to figure out a way to change that reality. You've got a good product that has a lot of razor blades that make it really hard for anybody to enjoy it. So, because the people that are playing it absolutely love it. I remember that was one of the first things people always threw in my face those early weeks where I was like, I just don't think this thing's doing very well. And they're like, but look at the review score. And I'm like, so what? I literally made a short saying the review score doesn't matter. They would gladly have like a 68 to a 71% on Steam, a much lower score, if they could have double the players. Dev side with 49 months. Bungie can do no wrong. LOL. You make me have buyer's remorse. I got it for my son so we can play together. Well, but here's the thing, Dev side, and thank you for that renewal. You can play and have fun right now with it. You can get your money's worth. I just don't see this game being around in a couple of months. I don't see how it could. There are realities that this game will face and that it's already facing that cannot be fixed with a patch, that cannot be fixed with, angry Twitter mobs that brigade every tweet, every comment, every video about this. You can jump on every clip that Ginger Prime puts up of us talking about the game and why we think it's not doing well. Homies, you can seethe and mold. You can call me every name in the book. It's not going to change reality. It isn't going to change reality. This is a moment in time where we're going to look back and say that was a moment. That was a moment in time. That was a point of history within live service games where even the greats can fall. This is Bungie we're talking about here. As much hate and anger that people want to throw at Destiny had a really good run, man. They can really hang their hat on that. They had a really good run. Over a decade of success and lots of money. But this is a moment in time we're going to look back in a couple of years and be like, that was a pretty big turning point. But even Bungie failed to launch and have a successful live service game. No Sound says, I stopped playing Marathon because I play solo. It's just too brutal and not fun enough. One foundational change is to make death less final somehow. In D2, it was the ghost shell in Marathon. It was the ghost shell. In Marathon, there is nothing, but that's by design. Peanut Clark says, long matchmaking times are coming. That would look so bad if Sony took this game off of the servers. I don't think they're going to take the game off. I don't think Sony's even involved in that. I don't think they want anything to do with that. Really good. Destiny had a historic run. That's what I mean. Like, even the greats can fall. Like, Destiny had the only live service run of its kind. Everybody else that tried to do this failed. Did someone say Peanut? There was a clip of Burnt Peanut trying to secretly eat, and they kept scolding him. It's just comedy. That guy's got a Midas touch of comedy. Like, everything he does, every game he plays, it's so funny. It's so entertaining. Homie was trying to eat, and they were like, Peanut! He was chewing very quietly the one time. It's so funny. He is a gift. He really is. We needed a new character to root for after one that I felt like really disappointed me. Chrono says, I think the saddest thing about Marathon is that they clearly put effort and they believed in it, but they just missed the mark in many major ways. Gritter says, Bungie should give us a safe pocket for Marathon at the bare minimum. Sorry, boss. Sorry, boss. Oh, man. Can't they just reduce the team according as the player base reduces? Yes, it's probably a huge financial loss, but I don't see why it would need to be shut down. I mean, it's not just about reducing the team size, though. It's about the game becomes non-functioning. It is literally like a car. The gas can get so low, the car won't run. It won't run. Think of it, maybe a better analogy wouldn't be gas, because eventually, there's not like a moment in time where like the car is running like poorly and then you just need to get more gas and then it stops. Think about like as the Freon gets low in your AC, it's working, but it ain't working really well. You can tell it's not working really well. There are signs. It takes longer for the car to cool down. It doesn't get particularly cool. And then it sort of just feels like the air is moving, right? There's a gradual degradation as the Freon gets too low. Like, let's say you got like a slight leak. Not a major leak, but like a slight leak. That's what they're facing. Like, you're going to get to a point, and you're hitting that point now. The cracks are starting to show. People are like, I'm in a smaller region. I'm in South America. Matchmaking takes forever. By the time I get into a match, it's really laggy. Those are the early signs of something's wrong. Something's wrong. We've got early signs. Eventually, it'll be even more obvious. You will have people playing during peak hours that are struggling to find a match, struggling to get in. And then when they finally do, same thing. Same thing. It's going to be laggy and match integrity is going to suffer. Sony would probably dissolve Bungie into their other studios before selling the studio. The IP of Destiny still has a chance to print money. I still believe that they have entered into a publishing agreement for Destiny 3, and I think that's what June is all about. Your AC unit must be really old. They don't use Freon anymore. I remember my wife's Ford Focus. That was what I had to refill it with. Like, I had a little canister. I don't know. I mean, that was a while ago. We've lived in this house for, okay, so it had been about 7 or 8 years ago that I did that. So I'm not tuned into what they use now. I don't follow it. But that's what I had to do. I had to get like a little canister to refill it. What's the cool Venom thing behind you? This is the collector's edition box that Spider-Man 2 came in. And then that's Lego R2. This is from, what's the name of the game? Tainted Grail. This was from Tainted Grail. They sent me a collector's edition. Somebody sent me the Atari decanter. I've got bourbon in that right now. It's out on the mantle. And then that's the Yote 6. And then that's Reforge Roast Coffee. Did you notice the Defense Force went fairly quiet around the start of the month? The initial period has ended. Big streamers aren't playing it daily. Well, not only have they've not just gone quiet, those left are pretty nasty. I mean, all you got to do is go to anytime Ginger puts out one of the clips of us talking about it. Yeah. Wait, Lono doesn't know HVAC? I thought this was Home Improvement. I feel bad for Marathon players outside of the U.S. Matchmaking must suck, not going to lie. Spider-Man 2 came in the box. Well, it was a collector's edition. That's how they shipped the big Venom statue. It's like it's a huge statue. R12 was the old Freon, and it was terrible for the environment. He was buying what's called R134A Freon. Huh. Gang says, I'm coming out of Lurk to tell y'all that you're wrong. Cars use R134A now, which is still Freon. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago that I did that, so there may be changes in regulations and all of that, and what's in it, what chemicals and all that are in it. But yeah, 8 years ago, I mean, that was how I fixed my wife's AC. I did a better job than the place she kept going. The place she kept going would refill it, and then a month later it would be out again. I bought one of those stupid cans from AutoZone or whatever the frick, watched a YouTube video, and it was fine for like 2 years. I was like, they were underfilling it. I mean, come on. They were clearly underfilling it, so you kept coming back. Please don't get him started on the ceiling fan, roof fan. No, Dan, our AC unit is great now. The house gets very cold. When I had the furnace changed, and I had my house was not properly vented on the roof, and my eaves were not properly vented either. The house it's a dramatic change. Yeah. So whoever did the roof work was an idiot, because the eaves were not even vented on 2 sides of the house. 2 entire sides of the house. Eaves not vented. And then we didn't have enough vents on the roof either. So I had the roof work done, and I had the furnace swap. And as soon as the blower for the new furnace turned on, I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds like a jet engine compared to the old one. And now, the house gets cold. I'm like, whoa, this is a new experience. It's probably better for the house, too. It was probably bad for our roof and our attic space. Yeah. So, it was a good investment last year. Hopefully we don't have any major expenses this year, because we had the flood, and then we had that, and then we had the furnace this year. It's like, I need to buy that dadgum camera. That's how you get hot, moldy attic spaces. That's right. I do have a handful of network and security installs for work. The amount of sketchy construction, specifically in roofing, would astonish the average person. Well, it's out of sight, out of mind, so it's probably easy to pull off. Like, if you put a light switch in crooked or a door frame crooked, it's going to be obvious. You're going to be like, what the frick did you do? Right? It's a little bit more obvious, in the home. But you mess up a roof, or you do something backwards or wrong on a roof, or you don't vent your eaves. It's like, I'm not going to know what the frick. I'm not going to even know to check that. You know what's crazy? We had the house inspected, and the home inspector didn't catch that. That's actually kind of irritating now that I think about it. I had to give that home inspector a call and be like, hey, just let you know, you completely missed this, and it could have and probably was damaging to the home. You know? You should check that the next time you inspect a home. Count the number of vents on the eaves, make sure they're spaced properly, and then maybe consult a roofer about the number of vents on the roof itself, especially when there's no shade and the house is going to be in the sun all day. Eventually, your greatest enemy in your house is the previous owner. The previous owner was actually great. He invested a lot into the home, but that might have been out of his frame too, because he had the roof redone, AC redone, water heater redone. He did really good work on the home, but this stuff just somehow slipped past him. Going back to Lurk, says Ganks, I'll be MIA in chat until the next week as I help with the transition of a new service manager. I took a new job, closer to home, better pay, and my own work truck. Hey, congrats, man. Congrats. What's the rating is it? I don't even know. Previous owner comment is based AF. It's so true, isn't it? Get solar panels. They came and pitched us and they never came back. I was like, dude, I'll do it. I'll do it right now. How much do I got to pay? Because the whole back side of my roof could just eat up that sun all day long. So, Elden Ring movie reportedly secures Last of Us actor. Yeah, Nick Offerman in Elden Ring. That's an interesting choice. He's a good actor. Anyway. There's other news stories that were in the show open, not just Marathon. Right? The previous owner could have caught that roof work if he wasn't too busy playing as Rook in Marathon. What do you guys think about that? There are different opinions on the Rook gangs. There are people that don't like it. They're like, hey, these guys are coming into the game. They're taking zero risk, and they're running amok. What do you guys think? Do you guys think it's a form of cannibalism, like it's going to be bad for the game? Do you think it's just part of emergent gameplay? If you guys aren't aware, Rooks are basically a runner you go in with. Nothing. Free kit. Right? It's free kit, I think. You can't do quests when you're a Rook. And they're going in and they're teaming up because, like, if I'm a Rook and you're a Rook, there's not much gained from us fighting. It's like an upgraded free kit. Let them play their players. The game needs it. He's got more stuff than a free kit. So it's like a free kit plus. Okay. I get why people are doing it. I'm not even critical of the decision. It's like, if I'm a Rook and you're a Rook, why are we fighting? You know what I'm saying? You came in with nothing. I came in with nothing. I'm not gonna get anything from you. Perfect response to the players telling you to get good. I mean, I'm not saying that I want to do it, but there's a part of me that is tempted to be like, let's just start streaming the game and beating the tar out of it. I'm just kidding. Like, let's just start streaming the game and just do Rook lobbies and just go in and be like, you told us to get good. Well, we're here, you know. Make life hell for all the sweatheads. I'm not going to do that. But there's certainly a part of me that would be tempted to be like, that could be pretty fun. At least for a little bit. I would probably get bored pretty quickly. And I'm not a very good player, so I probably would die most of the time. The Rook argument sounds like the Arc Raiders free kit argument, just with better telegraphing for intent. I like the idea, says Bajanga. They need to not give them one of the best shotguns in the game. You have to level pretty high for it, though. It's fine since it all hinges on trusting in other rooks who could at any time betray you. There's not much to be gained from betrayal of a rook, though, unless you know they just got some good loot. Then sure, you could be like, hey, buddy, I know from the way that you behaved, you got something good from that guy. I hate to do this shit. Go boom, boom, boom. Like, you just kill him. You're like, I'm sorry, bro. I can tell you got some good loot, you know? And you're like, listen, I can't blame you. People still be trying to kill me when I run into other rooks. I'm like, dude, let's make a deal before we do this. Slow Mobius says, I never quit a game as cold turkey as I did then with Arc Raiders. Once you realize there's no point in the game loop, it's done. Slow Mobius, do you think there's a point to any game loop? Like, I've heard that criticism a long time because because of all those years covering Destiny, I would commonly have people say that. What's the point? What's the point of the game? What's the point of the loot? Guys, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, please take a quick second and hit that like button very quickly. Everybody go crazy on the like button. Try and get us to 300 likes. We have YouTube's right back to being terrible again lately. Like, likes aren't updating. I've got a notice on my back end that says something's wrong with comments. So we can kind of glide above that as a live stream. We don't have comments. We're a live chat. So you guys aren't struggling to comment. I guess comments aren't showing up or something. So we are thankfully in a live stream, so we don't have to deal with that. I think the Rook gangs were hoped for by devs, says Gandalf. Create a friction for the heavy PvP focus, and it creates camaraderie for others that want it. And there's so much good loot for them to get that there is more than enough to share. Important upgrades for the Rook. So apparently the Rook has Boomstick. Rook will now start runs with a WSTR combat shotgun and MIPS rounds. Castling. Rook will now start runs with a stack of claymores. Mida will now barter their wares for certain deluxe salvage. Carrier. Rook will now start runs with a deluxe backpack in addition to their basic gear. What the frick? Proficient. Rook will now start runs with an enhanced weapon. Traxxas will now barter their wares. What the frick? Resilient. Rook will now start runs with a patch kit and a shield charge. I'm not going to say it again, but what the frick? Quiet Exit. Rook gains the effects of Signal Mass after activating an exfil. Specialized. Rook will now start runs with runner cores. Stipend. Rook will now start runs with a small amount of credits in addition to their basic gear. Boosted. Rook will now start runs with implants. Holy frick, man. I mean, I don't know about you, but that sounds like Rook can become kind of a hero in the game. I mean, I'm not calling it a hero shooter. We had that debate. This is like a hero with an RPG skill tree. Big Dino with 55 months and a member plus. I pressed the wrong button. I hope you're well. Well, thank you. I'm thankful you pressed that wrong button. Thank you so much. Devside says, I'm back to Arc. The game's so fun. I'm just doing contracts to get those sweet Rook upgrades. Rooks can start runs pretty stacked when you level the factions up. Rooks can spawn in often overpowered compared to runners who start with free kits. Yeah, I mean, that obviously is going to be a potential problem, you know. It obviously is going to be a potential problem because you're, you know, and this again is an issue, you know. This is an issue where if you want the game to be enjoyable, you can't. If you have that level of imbalance, then everybody's just going to flock to doing that, and then that can cause frustration. The Mouse PI review embargo is 2 days prior to launch. Mad props, boys. Mad props. So the review embargo for Mouse PI lifts 2 days prior to launch. So there it is, boys. Next week. Got a lot of stuff going on. Warhammer 40k looks amazing. Take notes, Pearl Abyss. You can't just extract straight away with that gear. You'll need to play to gain particular items to be able to retain. How is that a problem? Well, this is an inherent issue with a game like Marathon, Button on the Beat. They create a spectrum of power where the rich get richer, so the more you play, the more powerful you get, the more of a nuisance you can be to maybe a new player or a less powerful player. And then you have to, at some level, take that power away. And that's what the resets do. So this is where I continue to talk about how, like, the game's kind of a walking contradiction. You're like, you do all this work, you do all this effort to get all this level and to get all this power. Then you are actively serving as a demotivator in the game. Think about what you're doing as a player at that moment. You're motivating people to go away. It's like, man, this guy can play more than me. These people can play more than me. They're coming into the game, and they're causing folks to basically, leave. They're like a demotivator. Then you kind of demotivate them as well. Like, well, I worked for all this stuff, and now I'm getting reset. Now it's getting taken away. I think this is an inherent problem where no matter what you do, there's something in the game motivating people to stop playing. We looked at the commentary from the Nexon CEO recently. He was talking about the First Descendant. And he said that if you have structure that doesn't motivate people to play, then the fun goes down. And I think they have structure that actively motivates people to stop playing. Or you're motivated to get better stuff. No, I don't think so. If you come into a game and the people that you're playing are killing you and hurting and slowing your progress, it's like kicking the ladder out. It's like, homie, they climb up to the top, they get all that stuff, their presence in the game actively makes it harder for me to do those things. Their strength works against my ability to get more. That again, if you look at the player numbers, you can see that what I'm saying is correct. People have been motivated to play less. The game structure is literally set up to do that. There's a very particular type of player that's going to be trying to climb a hill, and they're going to get kicked back down that hill by somebody who got there first, who's stronger and who has a great advantage. And then they're motivated to keep trying. I just think that's a very, very small group. I don't think that's a very large player base. Or I don't think it's a large group of people, I guess I should say. You think Bungie should add in-gear score servers? You only play against people around your gear score? I think there's something like that in the game. There already is something like that in the game that is designed to assist with that. Yes. Are we going to do the ice skate uphill metaphor again? Yes, we are. Brimstone says it can be a motivator as well. Maybe you might want to be powerful like them, so you want to start playing more. I just don't think a lot of players are wired that way. I think the more I've interacted with gamers over the years and the more I've talked about games like this, I just feel like the average player is just not motivated by that. You know? This is a metaphor for King of the Hill and the king falls on reset. Sort of, yes. It is very much King of the Hill. When you get to the top of the hill, you have a significant advantage over those trying to get to the top of the hill. Yes. Yes. It's an inherent problem. I remember when we were talking about, loot-based PvP games, and I said, I don't know if there is a solution for loot-based PvP games to not face a lot of the problems that we've been talking about with respect to balance, with respect to metas, with respect to you got to motivate people with loot. How do you motivate people with loot? Well, the loot needs to be good. The loot needs to be of high quality. Then that loot being of high quality is going to, at some point in the future, need to be motivated to, like, you got to be motivated to get something better than it or put it down or have it taken away from you. Does that make sense? Loot, by its very nature, has to be better than existing loot in order to motivate you to go chase it. Well, you can't perpetually make better loot. It's not mathematically possible. This would be called power creep in a game, where you're like, let's just make a basic example. We're going to start you out in the game with a wooden club. And then you can upgrade from the wooden club to an axe, and the axe is stronger. And then stronger than the axe is a morning star, and stronger than a morning star is a mace, and then stronger than a mace is a sword, okay? So now you've got this spectrum of every time you run into content, you're getting something that is better. Well, eventually, you're going to need something stronger than that sword. Well, we have something stronger than a sword, and it's a wand. Oh, we have something stronger than a wand, and it's double wand. Oh, and we have something stronger than the double wand, and it's I don't know. It's an ethereal mage book. You just keep going stronger and stronger and stronger. Well, now what you're dealing with is power creep, because every time you give the player more power, you have to have adequate challenge for said new power. So what ends up happening is like, if we give you this really, really strong thing, you have to have an adequate environment for that strong thing to feel worth using, because if not, you're just going to be one-shotting everything in the game. Eventually, you run out of room, and you're like, well, we've given them the strongest thing in the game, and the enemies are about as strong as we could make them before things actually break, so we have to reset the player somehow. This is where Diablo 3's seasonal format really was like a stroke of genius. At some level, it was a stroke of genius to say, we can have you come in, you can enjoy the leveling, you can enjoy the growth in power, you can enjoy getting crazy strong, and then you can do it again next season. You're gonna create a new seasonal character. There is a stroke of genius to that. That's an intrinsic reset. And it's not a reset that feels like a sucker punch. It's not like, hey, we know you've really been enjoying all that great stuff, but we have to nerf it all or take it all away. Wham, and you sucker punch the player, and they feel like they've been robbed, they feel like they've been cheated. No, the seasonal format in Diablo 3, like, you knew going into it what you were signing up for. There was an element of genius to that idea. That's what the seasonal reset in Marathon is. In Marathon, you are perpetually a seasonal character. You keep nothing, you save nothing. You start over. It protects them from that element of power creep. Because once you get all the guns and once you do all the stuff, well, now what am I going to go chase? Well, you would need something stronger. You would need something. Enjoy the Prime. Thank you, Sketch. If you want to celebrate the Prime and have it added to the total, you might have to refresh and then click the button to celebrate the Prime. Because I don't see it on my dashboard. Like, at some level, the seasonal reset in Marathon is a requirement. This is why any loot-based game, this is a dilemma for any ongoing loot-based game. It's a dilemma for any PvP game where there's loot. How do you motivate people to come and do the harder stuff? How? You got to have really good loot. Well, the really good loot is got to be strong. Well, if it's strong, then it's going to create metagaming. It's going to create trends within the player pool where everybody chased the really good loot, and the small percentage of people that got the really good loot they can now kind of have the run of the servers. This also makes cheating even more frustrating. It makes cheating even more frustrating because now that really, really coveted loot that you worked so hard to get, well, it can be taken from you unjustly. it's bad enough to potentially lose loot in the game, right? That's frustrating enough. You want to add to that frustration. You want to throw gas on the fires of frustration. Have the loot taken from you by a cheater, right? I mean, you talk about giving somebody high blood pressure. You take their hyper coveted loot, and you have a cheater take it from them. So I don't have a big solution for the dilemmas that are facing this game with respect to the loot, with respect to balance, with respect to like how do you retain a player base, when that's happening, I think that's tough. I think every element of it is tough. Ginger Prime wrote an open letter to Asha Sharma. It's about, I'm not sure what it's about. I guess I could read it. He's about Marathon. In my younger years, I received the original Xbox for Christmas. Lately, playing games on the ROG Ally X has brought me back some of that feeling. Of all games, Marathon has highlighted the difference between the current generation of Xbox and what I fondly remember from the past. People often joke about how toxic Call of Duty lobbies could be, with players saying the most offensive things possible, and that's true, but at times real conversation also happened. Yet, here I am playing Marathon on Steam or my Xbox ROG Ally X, chatting with random teammates I don't know, and finding some really cool people to play with and have fun. The contrast couldn't be greater. PlayStation does this well with the PS5 controller, which is a built-in mic, that has me hoping that whatever Project Helix ends up doing, the next generation Xbox controller brings back those social aspects to gaming. Okay. He's basically just saying he wants the social aspect to return to gaming. It's like Bungie is trying to do PvP so badly, they're looking like they're trying to move away from PvE, which they are arguably the best at. Well, I think that's a misdiagnosis. I don't think they're trying to move away from PvE. I think this was one project of many. They had an entire game that was going to be PvP. I'm sorry. They had an entire game that was going to be PvE. It was going to be like, what was it, Payback? Like a third-person game. It was third person. You were going to play like as a hero from Destiny or something. It was going to be a bit Monhun-esque, Monhun adjacent. And that got canceled. They had a lot of incubation projects that were not PvP. I don't think they're trying to get away from PvE. I think DualSense is a great controller. I mean, I don't know. The haptics feel great. The ergonomics of it feel great. I don't know. I don't use the microphone all that much, but it was nice. Anytime I wanted to do prox chat in Arc Raiders, I didn't have to do anything. It was just unmute the mic and say stuff. I feel that. I remember Xbox Live was peak. It's sad how far they've fallen. I really liked the era of the Xbox Arcade. I remember using the Xbox Arcade to download demos and try games out. My wife and I would regularly try games out through the Xbox Arcade. Yeah. DualSense would be the best controller with Hall effect. Yeah, because then you wouldn't have to worry about stick drift. I wish Marathon had a PvE content loop for me to enjoy, says Haseo. Yeah, somebody suggested that earlier, and I just don't know. I just wonder if internally they're just saying we need to die with dignity. Like, if the game's going to slowly drift and decline, the last thing we need to do is look pathetic and, like, trying to throw everything we have at the wall. Or they may say, look, we need to do right by the players that are enjoying this, you know. We need to do right by them. We need to try to turn the player base numbers around. Yo, it's good, Rise Jones. Recap is there is a growing problem of cheating in Marathon, which seems strange given how small the population is. They hit a new record low. They hit a new record low of players last night. 4 hours in a row at around 8,000 players on Steam. There was a controversy that was outlined by 17-year veteran of Halo, Glenn Israel, talking about how he was treated. Basically encouraging people to not work for any organization under Microsoft. There was retaliation taken against him when he filed a complaint with Microsoft HR, which I find very easy to believe. I don't think Microsoft is a good company to work for. And so Microsoft said they're going to look into the claims that were made or what have you. And then the other one was that Star Wars Eclipse sounds like it's in trouble. Guys, really quickly on YouTube, can you guys make sure and hit that like button? Try to get us to 300 likes very quickly. Personally, I hate the DualSense. The hard edges on the grips dig into my hands. G7 Pro is the best controller I've ever used. The hard edges dig into my hands. What are you talking about? That's the last thing they need right now. Bungie can't catch a break. As for the employees, is there any proof of the HR filing? That sounds serious. I find it to be incredibly unlikely that a 17-year Halo veteran would just make these stories up. He was backed by other former employees that said they witnessed similar things. Everything's all good. Both streams are taken down because I'm a public servant IRL. Shout out to you. Lucas, hey, Richard. This is FCat. Shout out to me. I didn't do anything. What are you talking about? A 5 bomb from Siege Master. Thank you so much. Gets us to 82 on the week. I appreciate it very, very much. We're working on that weekly goal, guys. If you've got a renewal or a prime, make sure and check those and use those. Those add to the total. I don't think any corporation is good to work for. If it's not your own business, then it sucks. I mean, I think that's very generic. I think there's plenty of people who work for, corporations and have a perfectly fine time. I don't think it's that extreme. The larger the corporation, the higher the likelihood that it's not going to go great. That you're going to have issues with, being treated like a cog and not getting a lot of, feeling like maybe you don't even get fair treatment, especially if you've got like a complaint or something. Gothic 1 remake pre-order trailer. Yeah, somebody came in stream earlier and put that in stream chat that Gothic 1 was getting remade. That is not a game I have any nostalgic connection to, like, at all. I think he means the triangular at the bottom of the grips. Huh. How are you holding your controller? That's weird. I saw there's an open beta coming out for some online multiplayer game. I think it was for this week. Yeah, I think I just got an email about that. I think it's like the turn-based one. The man wants smooth edges. Yeah, I guess so. I think we'll have another low player record tonight for Marathon. It'll go back up, but maybe not even 30K when Cryo opens. I wonder what will be the count by the end of May, below 10K average. Yo, what's good, what's good, Haseo with a gifted member and gets us to 83. Sorry, Lono, I'm over here playing Marathon on 5 different devices, trying to keep the numbers up, so I forgot to add more context to what I was saying. It's a zombie game? And Haseo gifts another one. He's probably going to bump this to 85, hoping for that 15 away to maybe stoke the fires. of the gifteds. And we appreciate everybody who does their own membership. We are working on a big goal on the channel of folks picking up their own memberships. There's an FPS game, Sin. Anyone here old enough to play that? Then you know where V11 Punch comes from? Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. That's all I can do. Haseo, you've done more than enough, man. Listen. Some of you guys that go crazy and consistent with the gifteds, I'd say just take the week off. Take the week off. It's not on y'all. It's not on y'all. Thank you, Haseo, for getting it to 85. I'm being honest with you. Take the week off. Some of you guys go so crazy and put the entire member count on your back. Just take the week off. It's not on you. It's not your responsibility. Folks can either pick up their own memberships or gifts or not, and that's fine. I don't expect like a handful of folks to keep doing that. That's not reasonable. Understood. Just paid rent. Yeah, take the week off. If we have a couple of weeks where we don't do Saturday streams, I'm fine with that. You know what I'm saying? This is a community. It's not on 5 to 10 people to do it all. Hase is usually first here every morning. Yeah, Hase, you're here all the time. You're always trying to stoke that fire. So many of you recently have been doing like setups and hoping for dunkers, and I'm like, you know what? It's fine. We can more readily say, hey, if you want a membership, grab one. Thank you, Manny, for the 5-bomb. I appreciate that. Putting us to 90. We're 10 away. Chat's like, don't tell us what to do. Well, we've had a couple of weeks where I feel bad. I'm like, there's a handful of people that go crazy, and then even when they go crazy, we miss it, and I feel bad for them. I'm like, it's not on y'all. It's not on y'all, man. Don't feel that sense of responsibility. You know what I mean? It's a whole community of folks here. I'm just checking the news feeds here. The Starfield Free Lanes update also goes live today, guys. If you are playing Starfield today, update 1.6.236. It is the Free Lanes update going live on April the 7th. People Can Fly has an update? They went kind of quiet there for a little bit, didn't they? We're proud to show what we've been working on with our partners at Crafton. Xenopoint, a new gameplay mode experience for PUBG Face-Off? Oh, for PUBG. They've been working on a PUBG mode? Face-Off against aliens in a co-op PvE roguelike mode. Okay, listen. I like PvE and I like rogues. In PUBG, though? I'm a doubter. I'm a skeptic right now. Let's see what they got. I need somebody to type it first. I don't want to say it. I need somebody else to type it first. I don't want to say it. I don't want to be the first to be negative. Somebody else has to take the shot. Somebody please. Somebody else please say it. Listen, the good news is it's a mode in PUBG. That's a mode in PUBG. That's not like a game. That's not like a mainline thing that you're going to have to go out and like buy at full price or something. But that's like Helldivers at home. That's like Temu Helldivers. Like what the Listen, I'm all about doing more PvE I'm all about doing, more content kind of in that lane. I am. But that just did not look very good. It literally looked like if someone was building Helldivers, it was like the earliest version. Looks fun. I could totally see people going into PUBG and having fun with that. It's just kind of unfortunate that People Can Fly there was so much potential in what is this? How does it even get on my glasses? What is this? I literally can't get this off of my glasses. I can't feel it either. It's like something splashed on it. Oh, it might have been from maybe my coffee or something. There we go. That was so weird. It looked like a water droplet, but it wouldn't come off of the glasses. I just think it's a shame to see People Can Fly. I feel like they did some cool things, and there was a lot of potential in Outriders. Working on a mode for PUBG. I don't know. Lono, I ordered more Helldivers, but instead I received Skydivers. They should have just made Outriders 2. I mean, I don't know if Outriders 2 would have had much of a chance. Yeah, I don't know. Good news, the OG God of War actor thinks that the sex scenes will be returning in the God of War remake. So TC Carson giving you guys a little bit of good news there that we're worried about that. Yep. Just got here. What's up with Eclipse? I saw that coming. It was announced years ago and then went silent. 0 updates. Yeah, it's progressing very slowly. It's still years away. And, yeah. It might not come out. They're basically financially relying upon revenue from an early access game called Spellcasters Chronicles. And NetEase is not wanting to do any more of an increase in investment in the Star Wars Eclipse game. So it's not looking good. Outriders flopped. Must have missed that. I don't know if Outriders flopped. It definitely didn't do very well. Didn't they not make enough sales to get royalties on it or something? I don't think it commercially did very well, Jaggy. They basically, the Game Pass deal ended up hurting them, I think, because a bunch of people canceled their pre-orders. They needed a certain number of sales that they didn't get. So yeah, I would say commercially it just didn't do very well, unfortunately. Outriders got screwed by Square Enix too. Yeah, I mean it was not a great situation. It was not. So the game I was talking about called State of Decay 3, they're about to drop an open beta. Not an open beta, an alpha. Yes. What were you saying about it, though? They didn't even break even on Outriders. Yeah, I don't think they broke even on it. It was not a commercial success. Quantic Dream was always a weird choice for a Star Wars game anyway. Heavy Rain was okay. Didn't like Beyond Two Souls that much. Detroit Become Human was pretty good. Outriders achieved strong initial popularity with over 3.5 million players in its first month, fueled by the popularity demo on the day one Xbox Game Pass release. However, it failed to achieve commercial profitability for its publisher by the end of 2021, with developer People Can Fly receiving no royalties due to the high development and marketing costs. Yeah. That's pretty much the long and short of it. I don't think we can just strictly blame Game Pass. Game Pass certainly didn't help. The struggle with that situation in Game Pass is, if Game Pass was a deal that was brokered by the publisher, did the publisher get the money and then basically like hold that against the developers for like not getting enough sales? It's like, well, you entered into an agreement that would actively hurt sales. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's not, you can't go into a deal with Game Pass and then be like, oh man, I can't believe this happened. I don't know. Like, I can't, you guys didn't get enough sales. They go, yeah, they didn't get enough sales. You put the stupid thing on Game Pass. Oh, we gotta, hang on a second. Hang on one second. I'm just sending a DM real quick to Creature. We're just gonna have to make an adjustment on something. It's fine. There's nothing wrong. It's just all right. I think it's gonna get flagged. I don't think we should have that on the thumb, but we're making an adjustment real quick to something. Sorry. Let's see. I do remember them saying they haven't been paid yet for Outriders. Square was being weird about it. It wasn't that Square was being weird about it. There was an agreement, and they didn't make enough sales. Again, if Square entered into the Game Pass deal, okay? If Square enters into the Game Pass deal, and they get the money, and then they hold People Can Fly accountable to some level of sales that they didn't get, do you see what I'm saying? It's like you can't hold them to that. You can't be like, hey, we entered into a Game Pass agreement with Xbox. We got money for that deal. Zombie Deer on the thumb. Yeah, I think it should be the chick from the first trailer. I'm worried that original trailer is age restricted, and I'm like, if we put that on the thumb, not the thumbnail itself, but the video could get flagged. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I get it. One of the scathing things, maybe not scathing, one of the things that has emerged from the State of Decay situation is that there'll be no zombie animals. So it makes sense. It makes sense thematically to put that on there. I think it should be the chick from the original trailer. But the publisher paid to fund the whole game. They can do whatever they want. Well, right, but think about it, Paul. Entering into a deal with Xbox for Game Pass and then holding your developer, to a sales quota. It's like you actively entered into a deal that harmed the sales quantity of the game. Square owns the IP. Well, that doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about, does it? I mean, if the publisher says, yeah, sure, we'll enter into a deal with Game Pass, which actively lowers the sales total, like, you can't then turn around and be like, yep, you didn't get enough sales. Like, that just, I don't know. That just feels kind of scummy. That feels kind of underhanded, in my opinion. To actively enter into an agreement to lower the sales of the game and then be like, yep, you didn't get enough sales, no money for you. I'm not saying that if they wouldn't have done the deal, it would have sold fine. I'm not saying that. It certainly, didn't have a super promising future, but, They put it on Game Pass last minute because pre-orders were likely too low. I think that's an interesting theory. It's a theory I don't agree with. A bunch of people were canceling their pre-orders after the Game Pass announcement. I don't think they scrambled and put it on Game Pass. I don't think those types of deals are that quick. Like, quick, get a Game Pass deal. Like, that's I don't think that's how that works. Does that make sense? Like, oh, we're not getting enough pre-orders. Quick, throw it on Game Pass. Like, those kind of deals. It went on like 3 weeks before release. It didn't go on to Game Pass 3 weeks before release. That's when they made the announcement. Do you ever think that maybe the deal was well before that and they waited that long to announce it because they were trying to get pre-orders? We're talking about Outriders. I don't agree with your theory. I think your theory is incorrect. I don't think they scrambled to get a Game Pass deal because pre-orders were low. I think they waited to announce the Game Pass deal because they knew it would hurt pre-orders. It literally did hurt pre-orders. In the wake of the Game Pass announcement, people were literally saying that they were canceling their pre-order. They're like, well, why am I going to pre-order the game? I don't have to pre-order the game. I don't have to pay for the game. It's going to be on Game Pass. To me, it makes way more sense that deal was in place and they kept the deal quiet. They probably agreed to a certain amount of marketing silence to be like, listen, you can't be out there saying it's going to be on Game Pass. We're trying to get people to pre-order. And then as soon as the Game Pass announcement goes out, guess what happens? The pre-orders started getting pre-orders started getting canceled. I remember people canceling. I remember people canceling too. It was all over social media. I feel like there was literally wasn't there an article that was telling people how to cancel? I feel like there was an article, like literally telling people how to cancel their pre-order. Yo, James with 45 months, welcome back, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Love your content. Are you excited about the new He-Man game coming out in a few weeks? He-Man game? You mean the movie? I didn't grow up with He-Man, so I think it looks fun, but that's about as far as my brain goes, is that it looks kind of fun. It sounds like they did to get more subs at the detriment of the developers. I played on Steam, had over 400 hours. I think I had like 70 hours just on the demo. Oh, and Outriders? Video game. Oh, the side scroller. I forgot about it, right? There's a side scroller, like a brawl, like not like a brawler, like a 2D Double Dragon kind of game. Dragon Pearl of Destruction. It says coming soon. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. I'm not seeing a release date. What makes you say it's coming in a couple of weeks? Did you see anything? Oh, this says April 28th. For some reason, the Steam page doesn't have a release date. That's weird. The Steam page just says coming soon. Yeah, I forgot about the He-Man game. I thought you were talking about the movie. Yeah, you know, I like games like this. You know, I don't dislike games like that. I certainly feel like there's a growing number of them. There was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one, there was the Marvel Cosmic Invasion one, and then there's this one. The Marvel's Cosmic Invasion one is actually pretty involved. Like, the controls are pretty cool, your abilities and all that. It's actually pretty cool. It's got a lot more depth than I expected. So I certainly will check that one out, maybe with Madam. Here's my problem with those games typically. After one or two levels, I'm just kind of bored. It's just the same thing. It's just a button mash. I never really feel like they're that fun. You know, I played through the Ninja Turtles game with my son, and I mean, we rolled through it. We beat everything, and then it was just kind of like, yep. They don't feel all that memorable. it's weird because like I love a good 2D side scroller or a good Metroidvania, but like those type of games, like the 2D brawlers, the 2D, you know, Double Dragon style games and stuff like that, I don't know. They don't speak to me at all. I get bored very quickly. Even a game like Absalom, I was playing that and going back and kind of trying to figure it out. Like my wife and I kind of bounced off of it. I don't know. I just don't like it. They just feel button mashy and spammy. They don't feel fun to me. I don't feel like I can have the precision I want to have. Like when I'm playing Sworn with my wife, I feel like there's an amount of precision that we have and control, and we're moving and we're navigating the landscape. You know, it's a Hades clone. There's something about that 2D environment where enemies are coming in from out of the frame, and you're and then they go down. I don't know. 45 minutes into it, I'm like, I'm bored. It doesn't do anything for me. I get bored very quickly. It needs to have something that I think it was the Battletoads game that I felt like I enjoyed more. I think because it had like a really good parry mechanic or something, like a really good counter mechanic. But yeah. I want a real Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles adult game so bad. Well, there's the Ronin game that's being worked on by somebody. I need the Simpsons Arcade to come to console, says Russell Stewart. My favorite genre as a kid, Capcom made a whole slew of those games in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of games from that era of time, that I think people really enjoy, and I think people still really enjoy them. So I'm not knocking them, like, at all. I'm not knocking them. I have nothing against them. They just don't do much for me. They don't. I don't feel a whole lot when I play them. I get kind of bored pretty quickly. I'm not saying they're bad games by any stretch. Not by any stretch, but they're just not for me. I heard they're working on an adult-aimed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle console game. That's probably the Ronin game. What's it? The Last Ronin or whatever it's called. I would assume that's what that is. So I want an Altered Beast game that doesn't suck. Miss that franchise. Let's see. Okay. Schedule. Me and my buddy love playing Mother Russia Bleeds together. I am not familiar with that one. Mother Russia Bleeds? Is that like a... What is that, like a love letter? That seems like it's probably a game that's like a love letter to like Double Dragon or something. That's what that sounds like to me. Let's do this. Altered Beast could be good, says Wired Robe. Will you be playing Starfield on the Pro? No. I have zero interest. The way that I'm celebrating finally being right about Starfield coming to PlayStation is not talking about it or playing it, because I just don't care. It's just such a non-story for me. It's just such a non-factor. It's the most non-celebratory victory lap I've probably ever taken. Like, I'm just shrugging. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm happy for Bethesda fans, and I hope they really enjoy it, but I'm just kind of like, I wasn't going to spend another $70 on the game. I bought the game on my Series X. I bought the game on PC. I got the collector's edition, and I did my darndest to enjoy it. And I'm like, the game oozes boredom. I can't do it. I wasn't gonna do it just for the views. That felt like something I didn't want to do. Spending my money on Saros and not Starfield. From what I'm seeing, Starfield's getting killed again. In what manner? Getting killed, like, are people not happy with it? It's got a decent score. It's got a very strong score. It's got a 4.7, 234 ratings, though. I feel like it was topping the sales charts, so we'll have to kind of wait and see. The review count's just super low right now. I mean, 255. We'll have to check this throughout the week. That's pretty low. So any games that are extremely hyped coming out this year? Control Resonant, Saros, Phantom Blade Zero. Replaced. Yeah. These are all games I'm very, very much looking forward to. It came out about an hour ago. Yeah. We'll just have to wait and see. That's not a lot of reviews to go by. Yeah, Pragmata. I forgot about Pragmata. There's so many games, I always forget to mention some. Always. Yeah, Pragmata looks so good. Control Resonant. Saros is obviously at the top of my list because it's basically a spiritual sequel to Returnal. Wolverine. Phantom Blade Zero. So many games. I'm excited that hopefully like Mugenics can come to PC. I'm hoping that Slay the Spire 2. I'm hoping that Mugenics can come to console. Right now it's only on PC. Same thing with Slay the Spire 2. Hoping that can come to console. Hades 2 is coming to console. Excited about that. I really wish that, Hades was co-op. I really have enjoyed playing Sworn with my wife. That's a Hades clone you can play on console, and it's co-op. First two reviews I saw were Starfield is the best it's ever been, but it's still Starfield, and Starfield is AA great, big universe of nothing. Yeah, to me, they are likely going to not have positive reviews. The Terran Armada DLC is what I'm more interested to see what people think. That DLC looks dope. I think the Terran Armada DLC could have been utilized as like a Phantom Blade moment for the game, but it's not a standalone. It's not a standalone. And since it's not a standalone, it's like I don't want to have to play through all the other aspects of the game that I don't enjoy. Have you beaten Morgana yet? Who the frick is Morgana? You mean Phantom Liberty? Did I misspeak? I was, I don't know what I said. Oh, did I say Phantom Blade? Sorry. There's too many Phantoms. There's too many. There's too many. Only one. Yeah, sorry. I was hoping it could be like a Phantom Liberty moment to where, it could have really turned the game around and been like this cool standalone thing. And, it wasn't, sadly. It seems like it's a cool DLC. Terran Armada looks like it's got a cool vibe, but it doesn't look like it's going to be some, like, turning point for the game where it's going to, like, pull people in. Like, I false started on Cyberpunk, like, 3 times, and then Phantom Liberty was just ridiculous. All this time, I thought you and Madam were playing Scorn. Huh? What game are you thinking of? We are playing Scorn. Oh. That's a different game entirely. Not that game. Wait, what's the game that we're playing? I keep saying... What's the game that we're playing? I thought it was called that. There's a stupid update for the PlayStation app. It's definitely a 2.0 moment for the space travel. Closer to No Man's Sky now. Less loading screens. Scorn is weird AF. The one we've been playing is Sworn. Did I say Scorn? Jiminy Christmas. Sworn. Sorry. I probably said Scorn. It's easy to get confused and say the wrong names of these games. They're all the same. Lono doesn't talk good. I don't talk good. Sorry. Sworn, not Scorn. Alzheimer's already? Jiminy Christmas. Sworn is what we have played and really, really enjoyed. Someone's like, have you beat this person yet? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, sorry, Sworn. We have 22 hours in Sworn. Old man is right. Dad gummit. Jiminy Christmas. What game did you play? I was playing Scorn. No, you weren't, you idiot. Golly. Okay, please complete this. Okay, hang on. I need to put a flag on this email. Hang on. Just trying to... Okay. I've been playing Nintendo. Coughs and yells at the clouds. You said Scorn last week, and I thought it was pretty random for you to be playing that with Madam. I think I've been saying Scorn the whole dadgum time. Sworn. I think I said Scorn on Ginger's podcast, now that I think about it. I think I said it at the very, very end. I'm like, yeah, it's a Hades clone. People are like, no, it's not. What's this guy talking about? Sorry. They're not even close to being the same games. I don't think there's anything about them that they have in common, other than the spelling of their names. Other than the spelling of their freaking names. I think I said the wrong... I promised you. I think I've been saying Scorn for weeks. People are like, what is he talking about? Why is he playing Scorn with Madam? That game's weird and kind of grotesque, and there's no co-op. It's a Hades clone, and you can play a co-op, and people are like, no, you can't. Oh, my golly goodness. Old man, dude. Old man here. Just jacking up the names of games left and right. He's been playing Destiny 2 recently. It's very possible. It's actually not possible. You said sworn, I confirm. Okay. Maybe it was just... Maybe as inconsistent as I can be on these things, I probably was being inconsistent in calling it sworn. So there's times where I probably have said one or the other. You know what I mean? All good. I figured when you said co-op. Yeah. Just I do that all the time. I misspeak. I mean, I've gotten snagged in clips where people are like, he's a liar. And I'm literally just misspeaking. I think, like, what was it the other day I said? I said that, you'd have to get this on console or something. Oh, Phantom Blade. And people are like, no, Phantom Blade's on PC. And I'm like, I know. It was just, I just misspoke. It's like I've talked about how it's on both. I do that all the time. I'm reading chat. I'm reading Twitter. I'm reading feeds. I'm reading comments. And I'm also actively talking. And it's extremely easy for me to say the wrong word, say the wrong thing. He's going to yell at his chair. That's right. Wasn't there a Hell game with a similar name? I might be wrong. The one that flopped? I'm not sure. There have been a lot of Hades clones that have come out. Greetings and salutations. Hello. Guys, make sure you're hitting that like button as well. Make sure you're hitting that like button. We appreciate it so much. Reading Twitter is bad for your brain. It is. Looking for potential news stories and things like that, which, guys, a really great thing you can do to be a part of our planning, and when we figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to do it next, is to become a member. So you can click join, or you can type !join, and you can spend $5. And for $5, you get the entire month. The entire month, you get a badge, emotes, and access to my members-only Discord. And that is a great way to support what I do. You can do the exact same thing on Twitch. In both scenarios, it helps me, and we are trying to hit some goals there. And if you want to support the content directly, you might get a gifted. I did tell some of the bigger gifters not to try to carry the entire week on their back this week, and that is a great way to support us. We are going to go to the green room a little bit early, but before we do that, I have a video about the fake trailer problem. I watched, did the research, did the deep dive. I went out and got all the info for you guys about State of Decay 3. Click the link in chat. I'll redirect you guys on YouTube. Everybody right now, look at chat and click that link and go watch this video with me. I'll be in the chat. It's about the fake trailer problem. We're going there right now. I have to go to green room a little bit early today, and I appreciate you guys so much. So help me out. Everybody dogpile on this State of Decay 3 video. We were early I watched all this and tried to break it. We're breaking it now. There's all sorts of shenanigans going on. Click the link in chat, and I'll redirect you guys on YouTube as well. Thanks so much.